All right, I'm recording. Where's my friends?
Bing bong.
Yeah.
This is the I, Dan Simpson Show.
Right.
We do it because it's right.
I love the
course.
dialectic.
His testicles became swollen.
Oh my
Based.
god.
Do not come. Do not come.
I'm gonna come.
Oh god.
Please clap.
Yeah.
Who's this man?
This man.
This man in the hat.
The hair.
I'm gonna ruin this.
You're a stupid baby, Dan.
No.
Not me.
Rest in peace. The drunk is broken. All right, here's the deal. Should have started recording earlier, but whatever.
Love your face.
Here's the deal. Yeah, the Skechers thing. We'll cover the Skechers thing. Here's the deal. I should have been recording earlier. But the thing is I don't want to edit. Wait. I don't need to edit. There's a way to upload it straight from Twitch these days, right? It's pretty sick. All right, but we're doing Libya Day 2 over here. We're getting into it. And folks, if you have a link related to Libya, Gaddafi, the UN intervention, the aftermath, anything to add to the conversation, add anything to add to our community's understanding, the only Dan's, our understanding of Libya and relevant history here. You could drop those links in our Discord. That's a great place to do that. I came up with a new channel for this, deep dives. Since we're doing deep dives on Libya right now, that's where you're going to put it. If links related to the deep dives, drop them there. You love to see it. Already a lot of stuff to go into. There's a lot of stuff to check out here. Folks, you're giving me way too much to check out. What am I going to do? I don't have all the time in the world. Where do I start? Come on. Come on. Bodega just gave me this link in chat, so I'll drop it there in the... Oh, okay, you just dropped it there too. Thank you. I see now. I see. You said Telesur's got a lot of dope coverage. The media is based in Caracas, Venezuela, by an anti-imperialist news. Yeah, I'm big into Telesur. Telesur is one of the ways that we've been able to pierce the imperial narrative here on the channel live. We do it live, kids. Let's start with Hakeem. Apparently Hakeem's got a video on the Green Book. Is that right? Hakeem's got a video on the Green Book? Or are you making things up again? Stop lying, Judas. Stop stabbing me in the back. Okay. Did you have that link handy? Or what? It wasn't me. Okay. Then I think someone just mentioned it, and then I'll go find it then myself. Thank you for reminding me. So Hakeem, the little green book. Hakeem, little green book. Here you go. Thank you, smoked and baked. Right on time. All right, 9 minutes. Let's do it. I'm taking notes. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. I'm taking notes. Let's go. Taking notes. Let's go.
Hello. Or alternatively, hey, yo,
Hey.
peep the handbook.
It's a little green book.
Oh, fuck. I'm sorry about that.
Little.
Yeah, hi. Today I want to start a small
Green.
series as a spin-off of my usual book recommendations
Book.
video in which I talk about individual books to a deeper level. This will probably not be too popular, but I hope it's nonetheless educational for some. On today's
we
installment
go.
of Peep the Handbook, again, I'm sorry about that, we'll cover Gaddafi's The Green Book, a very interesting and well-written work in my opinion. Two
All right.
anecdotes from my life.
Can you
I had
hear
a
it?
teacher in high school who used to say that Gaddafi had his green book, Mao had his red book, and this particular teacher in question had her own little red book where she'd lock the grades of the students. I don't know why that came to mind, it just did. But secondly, and more relevant to the work itself, is that it's written in relatively simple language.
Gaddafi
a
built
Libyan
you,
friend of
huh?
mine used that as a criticism of the work.
go.
Not realizing that a high academic language not accessible to common everyday people is the mark of someone either
If you don't like Gaddafi by the end of this video, that means you're imperialist pilled.
not writing for a general audience,
And you're no comrade of mine.
or someone incapable of translating their thoughts simply to a general audience. Kinda why Mao is such a pleasure to read, a very high-level thinker who managed to explain observations and concepts very simply. Anyways, on to the work, which you can get a PDF copy of on LibGen along with pretty much every other book in existence. The book is divided into 3 sections. The solution of the problem of democracy, the authority of the people, based. The solution of the economic problem, socialism, beyond based. And the social basis of the third universal theory. The entire work is
What?
concepts very simply every other book in existence. The book is divided into 3 sections. The solution of the problem of democracy, the authority of the people, based. The solution of the economic problem, socialism, beyond based. And the social basis of the third universal theory. The entire work is around 100 pages, give or
So
take.
say it one
which
more
definitely
time. For the kids in the back.
to the people,
Most of
based. The solution of the economic problem,
Economic
socialism,
problem.
beyond based. And the social basis of the third universal theory. The entire work is around 100 pages, give or take, which definitely adds
And
to
the
the
third
many merits
universal
of the
theory.
work. The first segment, the solution
It's
of
like Gaddafi praxis, you know? Say the one last part again?
beyond based, and the social basis of the third universal theory.
Social basis of the third universal theory.
The entire work is around 100
What the fuck does that mean?
pages, give or take, which definitely adds to the many merits of the work. The first segment, the solution of the problem of
Here we go.
democracy, the authority of the people, concerns itself with, unsurprisingly, the question of authority. A relevant quote is, all political systems in the world today are a product of the struggle for power between alternative instruments of government. This struggle may be peaceful or armed, as is evidenced among classes, sects, tribes, parties, or individuals. The outcome is always the victory of a particular governing structure, be it that of an individual, group, party, or class, and the defeat of the people, the defeat of genuine democracy. What immediately stands out to me is the subtle lack of class analysis framing the victory of one class over another as the defeat of genuine democracy. Not to bring in the Khrushchevite revisionism tirade, but yeah, a little. The concept of the state of the whole people is a flawed one, as the only true democracy is when the working class has political power and the capitalist class is deprived of it. Of course, once they cease to be capitalists, then that's
All right, hold on. Let me give Hakeem a chance to get there. But third international theory. Is that the direct democracy stuff? Okay.
a different question. To Gaddafi's merit, though, his point is more subtle than this, and we'll get onto that in the next section. In a mockery of, for example, American-style elections, Gaddafi states, "For when votes are distributed among several candidates, though one polls more than the other, the sum of the votes received by those who received fewer votes might well constitute an overwhelming majority. However, the candidate with fewer votes wins,
critiquing
and
him?
his success is regarded as legitimate and democratic. In actual fact, dictatorship is established under the cover of false democracy. This is the reality of the political system prevailing in the world today." An ideal example is that the winning presidential candidate in the United States did not vote, rather than whatever blue or red tie puppet is used to delude the American people for these 4 years. Furthermore, Gaddafi criticizes the very existence of parliaments as authorities acting on behalf of the people, rather than the people exercising political power themselves. Parliaments have been a legal barrier between the people and the exercise of authority, excluding the masses from meaningful politics and monopolizing sovereignty in their place. People are left with only a facade of democracy, manifested in long queues to cast their election ballots. Gaddafi do
X out.
be spitting, though. I'm sorry about that.
But what is it? The Green Book is just Gaddafi not missing? He doesn't miss? Or what?
that as well. His criticism even extends to parties themselves as representing only segments of the population, and hence a tyrannical minority.
You're gonna read
This
it sometime?
interestingly stands in stark contrast to the Leninist concept of a vanguard party, in which the most class-conscious members of the proletariat constitute the leading body. His fundamental criticism isn't against socialist parties, though, but those of the more liberal traditions. In fact, the entire work fundamentally criticizes liberal European formulations of parties, parliaments, and state institutions. Furthermore, he links his personal experiences with tribal politics to modern parties by stating the party system is the modern equivalent of the tribal or sectarian system. In discussing class specifically, Gaddafi notes something interesting. Any class which inherits a
So
society...
it's like not Leninist. Is that right? It's not Leninist. It's not a vanguard party.
Society also inherits its characteristics. If the working class, for example, subdues all other classes of a particular society, it then becomes its only heir and forms its material and social base. The heir acquires the traits of those from whom it inherits, though this may not be evident all at once. With the passage of time, characteristics of the other eliminated classes will emerge within the ranks of the working class itself. The members of the new society will assume the attitudes and perspectives appropriate to their newly evolved characteristics. Thus, the
We know
working
if I'm
class
missing
will
something.
develop a separate society possessing all of the contradictions of the old society. This is not an analysis altogether missing from Marxist thinkers either. His idea is, rather than resisting other class elements emerging within the proletarian party itself, we should get rid of the entire idea and basically succumb to the immutable law of nature for example, bourgeois interests to return. Gaddafi basically concludes that since class struggle will continue in one way or another, instability will inevitably rise again. He presents the solutions shortly after, but I personally strongly disagree with this analysis. Class struggle happens on all societies, and it's myopic to assume that solely class dictatorship in the form of, for example, the dictatorship of the proletariat, will somehow be destined for constant struggle. Class struggle is like the air around us, both under socialism and capitalism. Under capitalism, granted, much more patently felt, but under socialism, from small-scale market activity amongst the peasantry to the petty bourgeois aspirations of the intelligentsia, both economic and ideological class interest presents itself at the surface and needs to be combated. Gaddafi's class analysis of society is lacking, in my opinion. There's a lot more to say, but we can move on for now. It's safe to say, though, that his general analysis or criticism isn't directed, again, at socialist parties or socialist countries, but more or less the liberal European manifestation of these political institutions. His solution is popular conferences and people's committees. TLDR, a form of various interlinking committees with direct democratic participation. These committees play a similar role to ministries and are held accountable to the people themselves within those same committees. These lead into a General People's Congress, which in a way basically acts as the Supreme Soviet. At least to me, they're surprisingly similar. But rather than it representing the majority interest of the vast bulk of humanity in capitalist and post-capitalist society, that being the proletariat and allied classes,
Just let him say that again.
these committees play a similar role to ministries and are held accountable to the people themselves within those same committees. These lead into a General People's Congress, which in a way basically acts as the Supreme Soviet. At least to me, they're surprisingly similar. But rather than it representing the majority interest of the vast bulk of humanity in capitalist and post-capitalist society, that being the proletariat and allied classes, it represents the whole people. Khrushchevite revisionism, blah blah, yeah, I'm in full agreement on that. I'll generally skip over the law establishment point in the book because this has a lot more to do with cultural differences than anything else. His opinion on freedom of the press too, I'll skip, although they're half decent. Concerning the second part, the solution of the economic problem, socialism, Gaddafi has this to say. Wage earners are but slaves to the masters who hire them. They are temporary slaves, and their slavery lasts as long as they work for wages from employers, be they individuals or the state. The worker's relationship to the owner
You wish we had a Western leader say this.
of the productive establishment and to their own interest is similar under all prevailing conditions in the world today, regardless of where ownership is right or left. Pretty good, except for the last sentence, as he seems to be under the impression that wage labor is the colloquial definition rather than the strictly defined thing it is under Marxist definitions. Regardless, I do think he did read Marx. Wage labor is more than simply getting a wage, and historic socialisms did not have wage labor. Furthermore, he leans back on the whole people idea by claiming true public ownership benefiting both all of society and the individual. Needless distinction, in my opinion, can only take place when everyone owns, rather than only a single class, that being the proletariat. Regardless, you can't disagree too much with his conclusion, that being workers should directly organize their workplaces, as well as form syndicates for production, in which their income is a share of production, and cooperatives for consumption. Honestly, all the rest is pretty good stuff that is relatively inoffensive. Housing is a human right. People should have needs provided for. Good public transportation systems, etc., etc. His thesis wraps up with, the final step is for the new social society to reach a stage in which profit and money disappear. Society will become fully productive. The material needs of society will be met. Basically a semi-definition of communism, interestingly enough. Possibly as read Engels too. Especially so when you take all the rest of it to its logical conclusion, with some caveats. A lot of the third section is culture dependent, and I don't expect Westerners would be able to relate too much to it, but it's still an interesting read nonetheless. So, all in all, should you peep this handbook? This is such a stupid. God, this is so stupid. Yes, I think Gaddafi is definitely a slept-on thinker, if I can even say it that way, with some worthwhile things to say. If people will read garbage like Devoir, for fuck's sake, they can spend an afternoon and read some Gaddafi. Yeah, honestly, I do recommend it. It's only like 100 or so pages. And with that said, thanks for watching. If you enjoy this format, then let me know.
All right. All right. What'd you learn? I don't know. TLDR. Dude was not like a formal Marxist Leninist, but he comrade. Almost never missed. Now what we can do is learn more about what he did in his country, and I'm sure learn about some really nasty shit, you know. We can talk about that. What I want to do though, spend some time talking instead about why the West wanted to fuck him up. Okay? Early as the 90s, he's butting heads with his Islamic folks, possibly Mujahideen. Possibly this means that NATO via Gladio B, via the Grey Wolves through Turkey, are literally funding anti-Gaddafi opposition in the country as early as this Islamic uprising against them in the 90s. He's improving healthcare in the country, education, jobs, public housing, literacy's jumping from 10 to 18% during his reign, during his rule, whatever. Infant mortality and GDP skyrocket in a good direction. He's got this great man-made river project. There's talk of these satellites. Did that actually happen? What happened with the satellites? You thought he was a puppet of the West. I don't know why you would think that. Let me know why you think that. They murdered him. I don't know. Whatever. He was gonna challenge the power of the U.S. dollar and the euro by creating a currency backed by gold. He represented Africa's best chance at anti-U.S. colonial hegemony. Because of them, because of Gaddafi and his guys and his crew, they were the first developing country to secure stake in oil revenues in their country, nationalizing their oil. Hated by the West. Hated by the West because he sponsored the IRA. So, of course, anything the IRA does that they didn't like, they're going to blame on Gaddafi. Including the Lockerbie bombing, some other bombing, massacres in Munich in '72. He gave 700 million to Hamas in Lebanon. He supported Palestine. He supported I don't know, like you go back in history, would you not have supported those groups if you were Gaddafi? Was he ever wrong? Right? What do you mean puppet of the West? I don't even get where that's coming from. All right, there's a lot I have to learn though, so let me know if you think there's something missing. My notes do say narrative shift, Gaddafi dictator, you know? Is this after Arab Spring? Are those really related? Did I connect those in my head? What's going on there? So here are some of my questions. Here are some of my unresolved questions. All right. Let's talk about the intervention. We're to understand that formally there were no U.S. boots on the ground, but they were firing very expensive fucking Patriot missiles from the water. They shot 112 of them, costing 1.4 million each. That's why we can't have nice things. Like, what were their stated in motivations? Like we sort of know why they did it, but why do they say they did it? Who's on the record at the time, either from the State Department, from the White House, what talking heads on CNN, etc., do we have on the record talking about this, including people who still make content today? Who's on the record? I'd like to see what they said. I think there are patterns to be found there. And by learning and identifying these patterns, we'll more be able to, in real time or near real time, disrupt empires' narratives that they're trying to spin in front of our faces. I no longer want to be one of these people that isn't able to spot empires' narratives when they do it. I want to catch it right away. And then I want to talk about the Arab Spring, how that was related, if at all. Am I confused about that? Am I making a connection where there is none? And if so, was the Arab Spring a color revolution? I need to figure this out. All right, so these are my questions. If you have links that help me answer this question, these questions, drop them in the Discord. Kaleem's got something 4:15 to 5 minutes. Maybe TOS can't tell. Maybe dead guy in Jeep. Okay. Definitely TOS missile hit. You can watch missile hits depending on how much gore there is. Hey, unelectable. You can watch a missile hit as long as it's not like hitting a body and it's exploding in front of our face. But is this worth watching? Let's see here. Destruction of a Nation, Libya, DW documentary. How long is this? 42 minutes. Yeah, let's hang on to that. Here's old vids you can find of Obama and company talking about the invasion of Libya at the time. Yeah.
With 2 US warships already in the Suez Canal, America has the military capability to respond quickly in Libya should it need to. Talks continue regarding the right international response to the situation, as fighting rages on between rebels and pro-Gaddafi forces. As well as the US, Britain and France also have troops and equipment in the region. Much of this is
Hold on.
US, Britain and France also have troops and equipment in the region. Much of this is at NATO bases, though NATO itself won't be using military force against Libya. America is still considering a no-fly zone, but President Obama spoke frankly about the Libyan leader's position for the first time.
He said Libya's not going to use force? What? It's March the... Okay. This is before they did. This is before they launched all the shit.
The violence must stop.
You're arming the rebels. Yes, Mr. President. Yeah, but you're arming the rebels. Right? They're gaslighting us.
Muammar Gaddafi has lost legitimacy to lead, and he must leave. What I want
Is that Ned Price?
to make sure of is that the
young
United States
Ned.
has full capacity to act potentially rapidly if the situation deteriorated in such a way that you had a humanitarian crisis on our hands.
Oh my God. All right. So again, the timing of this is, I believe, such. This is March the 4th, 2011. My timeline reminds me that the UN intervention begins the 19th. So what he's saying is, this is about to happen. He's saying this is about to happen.
To make sure of is that the United States has full capacity to act potentially rapidly if the situation deteriorated in such a way that you had a humanitarian crisis.
He's saying we're going to make sure that happens.
On our hands.
All right. A humanitarian crisis on our hands. So again, if we'll remember the video with Sam Cedar, where Sam's like, there was a potential genocide. He called the war in Libya a legitimate exercise, by the way. Mind-blowing shit. He says because of a potential genocide? What is he talking about? Can someone help me understand what he's talking about there? Is it when the rebels took Benghazi? Is that it? And it looked like Gaddafi's going to take it back? They were preventing a genocide? Is that what they're arguing?
Both the British
But this is the 4th. Hold on. When did the rebels take Benghazi? When did the rebels take Benghazi? Not 2012. The attack on Benghazi that the Republicans are mad about was in 2012. This is later. But what, the rebels, they were holding. We were looking at this yesterday, right? Fuck. Okay. Hold on. Let's watch the rest of this.
British and French foreign ministers echoed President Obama's need for readiness and planning when they met in Paris on Thursday.
Annoying.
However, neither endorsed military intervention.
Yet.
We are also agreed that the international community, including the United States
Put this guy in the William Hague.
and our other partners, should continue to plan for different contingencies, including a no-fly zone, to ensure
It would eventually do that.
that we can respond swiftly and resolutely to events in Libya.
They know that because they know they've been arming these rebels, and they're waiting for an opportunity to be like, all right, how are we going to send in the big guns? They're arming the rebels.
France does not think that in the current context, military intervention of NATO powers would be well received on the southern shores of the Mediterranean.
Not currently.
It would be counterproductive.
Yeah.
That said, given the actions that have been carried out by Colonel Gaddafi, we must put ourselves in a position to act. That's why we've given our permission to the planning of an exclusion zone over Libya.
And they would do that, costing $100 million a week. All right. Interesting bit there. So Obama's going, we're not doing anything militarily until, humanitarian crisis. And so military-industrial complex is like, hold my beer. But what happened next? My understanding is that they're like, all right, well, we have to create the impression that there might be a humanitarian crisis. So the rebels take... Am I wrong about this? The rebels tooken? Looking over here. We were watching this yesterday. Let's remind ourselves of this. Benghazi rebels prepare for attack. March 16th. When did they take it?
Despite rebel claims to the contrary, reports indicate that Colonel Gaddafi's forces have overwhelmed the strategically important eastern town of Ajbaya. The offensive on Tuesday hammered rebel positions with airstrikes, missiles, tanks and artillery. One resident told reporters there's complete terror there now. Everyone is frightened.
What's the timeline? Beginnings of protests in January. And then by March, they're hot. Yeah? I simply don't get it. I'm trying to understand what the West is going to say was that humanitarian crisis. If the humanitarian crisis was the worry that... Anyone in chat can help me? If that humanitarian crisis was allegedly the West scared that Gaddafi and his troops are going to roll back into Benghazi after the rebels took it, so they're going to take it back from the rebels, and they're scared about the violence that the civilian population would face in the ensuing battle. Why wasn't the West scared about the rebels taking it to begin with? Where's that same energy? Y'all following me there? Just like, you can't gaslight me like this every fucking time. That make any sense, chat? On a video about how Western propaganda destroyed Libya, but I haven't seen it yet. Okay. Hey, bro, it's a pretense. Hope that helps. Yeah, but like, it's just baby brain stuff, right? It's not even that good. They're just clearly bullshitting, right? We can all... I think the West viewed this as part of the Arab Spring uprising. Okay, I'd like to make that connection a little bit more explicitly. What leaders are saying that? Because I could sort of get that. The pretense being there that, oh, the people are protesting, they're mad, they want new leadership. Here we come, we're the West, we save the day. Right? Are they saying that like there was like violent repression at the Libyan Arab Spring protests, or what? What is the deal? I'm honestly trying to figure this out. What did people say? Who's on the record justifying what? Oh yeah, they suck at it. It just seems like they didn't even try. Just the compliant media makes it easy. They bend over backwards for him. They just bend over backwards for him. Thank you, sir. May I have another? It's like they just refuse to ask questions. I simply couldn't go through life not asking questions like that, you know? They own the media outlets. They don't own me. They don't own me. I'm still asking questions over here. This is wild stuff. Okay. What's the... If you can help me connect these dots more, let me know. Let's go back here. Here's a couple more of Obama. Oh, good, 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 good.
And we turn now to the president's speech itself. Hanging over this speech were the shadows of other wars and other presidencies.
Screaming at me.
President Obama tonight sought not only to make it clear that Libya is not Iraq, but also...
Try this wiki CIA's guy. This wiki CIA's guy. All right, hold on.
So that he is not President George W. Bush or even President Bill Clinton. Tonight, President Obama's goal was simple: to explain to a public skeptical about the war he's launched in Libya.
What we've done, what we plan to do.
The war he's lost in Libya? This is already March 29th, so this is 10 days after they bombed the shit out of it.
And why this matters to us.
It has been 10 days since Mr. Obama ordered U.S. forces into combat in Libya.
Hear an echo in the room?
Nearly 200 Tomahawk cruise missiles launched. More than 1,600.
200? We heard 112. I need coffee. Hold on, hold on. Everyone, calm down. Everybody relax. Don't freak out, okay? Oh my... But I gotta charge my iPad. And I also need coffee. And I need to get the coffee. And I need the coffee.
Of a belligerent passenger causing sheer chaos in the air. And it got so bad that flight attendants had to duct tape the man to his seat. Ever since masks were required on airplanes, flight attendants say that their work has become downright dangerous.
Now understand something. We about to by your ass now, boy. We about to by your ass. So we wrapped them up. By your ass now, boy. We about to by your ass. So we wrapped them up. This man smell like a pack of Marlboro cigarettes. 4 shots of Everclear alcohol and regret. If you push us too far, you're gonna have to attend to this ass whoop. He's spitting and cussing and going crazy. Oh, shit, wait, stop it. It's when he touched my titties, because I don't play that. So what I did is I took out the duct tape. I said, he got scared, start stuttering, say, hold up, wait a minute, something ain't right. I say, yeah, I understand something. We about to by your ass now, boy. We about to by your ass, so we wrapped them up. By your ass now, boy. We about to by your ass, so we wrapped them up. I understand something. Sometimes our job has us attending to crazy people. My parents are and I'm just looking at them at the table. I say, that's enough. I got up and I walked over there. I know something's about to go down. Wait, stop that. It's when he touched my titties, because I don't play that. So what I did is I took out the duct tape. I said, he got scared, start stuttering, say, hold up, wait a minute, something ain't right. I say, yeah, I understand something. We about to by your ass now, boy. We about to by your ass, so we wrapped them up. By your ass now, boy. We about to by your ass, so we wrapped them up.
Great. Great. Okay. You love it. All right, who's this guy? Oh, we were in the middle of this.
100 airstrikes. And so the challenge for the president: justify this war and show Americans that the U.S. role really will be brief and limited.
The United States and the world faced a choice. Gaddafi declared he would show no mercy to his own people. He compared them to rats and threatened.
Homie. What? Civil war. They're engaged in a civil war. And you are arming the rebels attacking him for making his country way fucking better. If you're successful, which he will be, you're going to destroy the country and then introduce neoliberalism, which is exactly what they'll do. Fuck you, Obama. Just go fuck yourself. Empire's cuck.
Threatened to go door to door to inflict punishment.
No spoilers.
It was Muammar Gaddafi, Obama said, who was the main reason for war. He was about to launch a massacre of his own people.
It was not in our national interest to let.
What? They were engaged in a war. He's like, they're like, I'm sorry, we can't let one side be massacred, so we have to massacre the other side?
Let that happen. I refuse.
Fuck you, Obama.
Refused to let that happen.
And so the attack began. One question has hovered over this mission. How is it in the strategic interest of the United States to go to war in Libya? Robert Gates, Obama's own Secretary of Defense, complicated matters for his boss on ABC's This Week yesterday.
Do you think Libya posed an actual or imminent threat to the United States?
No, it was not. It was not a vital national interest to the United States, but it was an interest.
Tonight, President Obama sought to explain. He said that standing by while Gaddafi crushed the rebellion could destabilize neighboring Egypt and Tunisia and cast a shadow over the
What? It sounds like modern domino theory.
Freedom movement sweeping the Arab world. But in the end, it is really a moral case the president is making for war.
That's fucked up.
Nations may be able to turn a blind eye to atrocities in other countries. Some nations may be able to turn a blind eye to atrocities in other countries.
Bro, you serious here? You're kidding me. One more time for the kids in back.
War.
Some nations may be able to turn a blind eye to atrocities in other countries. Some nations may be able to turn a blind eye to atrocities in other countries. Some nations may be able to turn a blind eye to atrocities in other countries. The United States of America is different.
What? No way. All right, get your punches in. I'll be back in 10 minutes. Love your face.
Wow.
That's some bullshit.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
That's a straight liar. That is some shit, dude. How can you say that? Guy's like a sicko. It's like real sicko shit.
Yeah. Are we the baddies?
Real sicko shit.
You've got mail. When you are praised by the colonist, it means that you are bad for your people. When they say you are bad, it means that you are good for your people. The day they say I'm good, that will mean I betrayed you. Ahmed Sekou Touré.
Thanks for the 100 biddies, homie. This is fine. Yo, Matt. What are you up to tonight, homie? She's out of the house tonight. What are you up to? I don't know. Let's throw that out there. Daisy Pumps, this is fine, yeah. You got the kids? Take care of the kids? Here's what's up. I cannot believe that guy. Hey, are you around?
And as president, I refuse to wait for the images of slaughter and mass graves before taking action.
The action in Libya has turned the tide. Rebel forces have now retaken all the territory they had lost to Gaddafi's troops as Allied airstrikes have grounded the dictator's planes and paved the way towards Tripoli. But that may have been the easy part. Today, the rebel advance halted before the city of Sirte, Gaddafi's hometown, where his far better equipped forces have hunkered down. And that leads to another question for the president. Is helping the rebels get rid of Gaddafi the goal?
If we tried to overthrow Gaddafi by force, our coalition would splinter. The dangers faced by our men and women in uniform would be far greater. So would the costs and our share of the responsibility for what comes next.
What? I feel like he's like... like putting a spell on me. What the fuck is he saying?
Of Gaddafi the goal.
If we tried to overthrow Gaddafi by force, our coalition would splinter.
What?
The dangers faced by our men and women in uniform would be far greater.
That's what they did.
You've got mail. Have you ever covered the Tigray War in Ethiopia?
Oh, not in depth. I need to. Put it on my list. I need to be an understander. I'm not yet an understander of that.
So would the costs and our share of the responsibility for what comes next. To be blunt, we went down that road in Iraq.
And we aren't doing that again, the president said. But war has its own merciless logic, and history is littered with such declarations. The questions about Libya keep coming. Who are these rebels? Are they really pro-democracy? What happens if Gaddafi doesn't go? Could Libya's civil war drag...
Wait, when did they kill Gaddafi? October. They get him in October, so this goes on for months. Really? Yeah, October of the same year. Because this is March 29th.
Drag that country into Somalia-style chaos. President Obama didn't answer those questions. Instead, he declared that our ancient values are now our vital interests as the Middle East erupts in popular and unpredictable revolutions.
We can make a difference.
Popular.
I believe that this movement of change cannot be turned back, and that we must stand alongside those who believe in the same core principles that have guided us through many storms.
What's that? Which ones are those? What the fuck, dude? Obama? Wow. Look at this. Reader, read this.
The 2011 invasion of Libya was undertaken because Gaddafi was threatening the future of the US dollar system. He was planning to form a central bank based on the gold dinar, independent from the dollar. Gaddafi had to be targeted to protect the role of the US dollar as the leading world reserve currency. Libya also has one of the largest oil reserves in Africa.
You're getting better analysis from the chatter, the commenter on YouTube, than you did from the content itself. Same thing they tried to do in Syria, but Russia intervened. The September 2012 attack was the U.S. Embassy attack. But yes, it was also in Benghazi. Worth the 30 seconds time-stamped best Obama quote.
That's part of what makes us special as Americans. Unlike the old empires, we don't make these sacrifices for territory or for resources. We do it because it's right. There can be no fuller expression of...
I love how he waits for it. We do it because it's right.
We do it because it's right.
The way he says it is like, is there someone holding a gun to your back of your head here? What's going on? We do it because it's right. We do it because it's right. You want me to do it again?
That's part of what makes us special as Americans. Unlike the old empires, we don't make these sacrifices for territory or for resources.
Old empires.
We do it because it's right. There can be no fuller expression of America's
someone
support
yells
for
in the background.
self-determination.
Unlike the old empires. New empire, who dis? Oh my god. A pregnant pause was about to have triplets. What was yelled? I don't know. You do it because it's right. What's going through his head? I think he's just reading it and he gets to that part and he's like, motherfucker. Who wrote this? He's like, am I about to say this for real? And he's like, well, I'm about to say it. Here we go. And then he says it. Wow. We do it because it's right. No. No, you don't. Wow. I love that video. Hilarious. Shameless. Probably. The Pod Save America, guys. What the fuck? What am I reading here? Oh. Wow. Oh. The CIA's guy. So, took part in a Libyan contingent against Israel in the Yom Kippur War of 73 and 87, became a prisoner of war during the war against Chad after being lured into a trap and captured. It's a major embarrassment for Gaddafi, represented a major blow to Gaddafi's ambitions in Chad. While being held prisoner, he and his fellow officers formed a group hoping to overthrow Gaddafi. He was released around 1990 in a deal with the U.S. government. Spent nearly 2 decades living in U.S. in Langley, Virginia. What? Come on over here. The fuck is this guy? The fuck? What is this guy? My own motherfucker. Who's this motherfucker? Hey, trained up, guys. That's right. Jesus Christ over here. The Ahmed Chalabi of Libya? I don't know who Ahmed Chalabi is. I know that name, but I don't. It's not ringing a bell, but it should be. What's going on over here? Gotta figure this out. Let me figure it out. One thing at a time here. All right. All right. All right. Okay. 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 Obama.
Good afternoon, everybody. Today, I authorized the Armed Forces of the United States to begin a limited military action in Libya in support of an international effort to protect Libyan civilians. That action has now
From what? Specify.
Begun. In this effort, the United States is acting with a broad coalition that is committed to enforcing United Nations Security Council Resolution 1973, which calls for the protection of the Libyan people. That coalition met in
Who's going to protect them from you?
Paris today to send a unified message, and it brings together many of our European and Arab partners. This is not an outcome that the United States or any of our partners sought. Even yesterday.
I object.
The international community offered Muammar Gaddafi the opportunity to pursue an immediate ceasefire.
The international community. Go fuck yourself, homie.
One that stopped the violence against civilians and the advances of Gaddafi's forces. But
what about the advances of the rebel forces that you're arming? Come on.
Despite the hollow words of his government, he has ignored that opportunity. His attacks on his own people have continued. His forces...
It's a civil war. His own people are attacking him. And each other. Homie.
Have been on the move. And the danger faced by the people of Libya has grown.
The way they frame it is just hopefully desperate that Western audiences are exactly as dumb as they are. I guess they don't have to be desperate when they know they're just plain old stupid and they'll get anything by them.
I am deeply aware of the risks of any military action, no matter what limits we place on it. I want the American people to know
how many died?
That the use of force is not our first choice.
It's your only choice.
That I make lightly. But we cannot stand idly by when a tyrant tells his people that there will be no mercy, and his forces step up their assaults on cities like Benghazi.
There will be no mercy. Yet when the United States says there will be no mercy when they invade other places, all the fucking chuds are like, yay, yay, no mercy.
Misrata, where innocent men and women face brutality and death at the hands of their own government.
What about the brutality and death at the hands of ours? The hands of your government? Oh my God, homie.
So we must be clear. Actions have consequences. And the writ of the international community...
actions have consequences. Someone show Ariana Grande this video.
...must be enforced. That is the cause of this coalition. As a part of this effort, the United States will contribute our unique capabilities at the front end of the mission to protect Libyan civilians and enable the enforcement of a no-fly zone that will be led by our international partners. And as I said yesterday, we will not, I repeat, we will not deploy any U.S. troops on the ground. As Commander...
We find out that's a lie, right? There's almost always CIA boots on the ground. But also, Britain's MI5, they recruit literal 16-year-old Libyan born British kids from Manchester. Like, one of those kids would go back to Manchester and do the bombing of the Ariana Grande concert in 2017. Is that all? Is that accurate? Was it 2019?
Commander-in-Chief, I have great confidence in the men and women of our military who will carry out this mission. They carry with them the respect of a grateful nation. I'm also proud that we are acting as part of a coalition that includes close allies and partners who are prepared to meet their responsibility to protect the people of Libya and uphold the mandate of the international community. I've acted after consulting with my national security.
What's this about Ariana Grande? Again, one of the young British kids that the British sickos would bring with them to Libya to fight Gaddafi would eventually go back to Britain and bomb a concert, an Ariana Grande concert. I think 22 people died.
Team and Republican and Democratic leaders of Congress. And in the coming hours and days, my administration will keep the American people fully informed. But make no mistake, today we are part of a broad coalition. We are answering the calls of a threatened people, and we are acting in the interests of the United States and the world. Thank you very much.
Fuck yourself. You imperialist asshole, dude. Okay. David Cameron.
We will do everything we can today and tomorrow to help those people, and planning is underway to do just that. In the last 24 hours, there have been 6 flights that have left Libya, and that is good. There will be more on the way if necessary.
This is February the 25th. I mean, they know something's coming up, and they're trying to get their people out.
HMS Cumberland has now come out of Benghazi, bringing many, many British citizens out of Benghazi, and we've also helped citizens of 25 other countries. I've also asked for HMS York to go into the area to help out as necessary. But I would say that people do need to leave now. That is the message I give very strongly to
okay, that's
British
exactly what's happening
in Libya. But for those in the desert, we will do everything we can. We are acting on that right now to do everything we can to help get you out. The message is very clear, which is the violence we have seen is appalling and unacceptable. And I have this very clear message for people.
Stop arming the rebels
in that regime. This warning for people in that regime, which is the world is watching you, and the world will hold you to account. And Britain, through the United Nations, is pressing for asset seizures, for travel bans, for sanctions, for all of the things that we can do to hold those people to account, including investigating for potential crimes against humanity or war crimes or crimes against the people. And people working for this regime should remember that international justice has a long reach and a long memory, and they will be held to account for what they do.
What about you? Wow. Wow. Oh, God, Ross. There it is. There it is. During the invasion, March the 21st.
The first British cruise missiles were fired from HMS Triumph at 7 p.m. Subsequently, RAF Tornadoes were deployed in several missions.
Shit. Our count yesterday of 112 cruise missiles, that was just from the U.S., wasn't it? They're all shooting them over there.
This marked the beginning of our involvement in an international operation working with the US
beginning. Yeah.
And others at the request of Arab nations to enforce the will of the United Nations. In line with UN Resolution 1973, there were two aims to these strikes. The first was to suppress the Libyan air defences and make possible the safe enforcement of a no-fly zone. The second was to protect civilians from attack by the Gaddafi regime. Good progress has been made on both fronts. I can announce to the House today that coalition forces have largely neutralised Libyan air defences and that as a result, a no-fly zone has effectively been put in place over Libya. It is also clear that coalition forces have helped to avert what could have been a bloody massacre in Benghazi. In my view, they did so just in the nick of time. Today, I can confirm that RAF Typhoon jets have been deployed to a military base in southern Italy within 25 minutes flying time from the Libyan coast. And these two Typhoons will be helping patrol the no-fly zone this afternoon.
All right. Talking about the no-fly zone there again. Not getting a lot of explicit reasoning. They said for why they're saying, why they think it's justified, right? We're just simply not getting that. Am I wrong? I missed something? Am I missing something? What was it like back then? Arab Spring? Did they say that though? They said so. Why don't you trust them? Yeah. Yeah. An hour. Was this all happening during the subprime mortgage recession? I don't know the timing of that. Wasn't that 2008? Are you talking about Occupy Wall Street and stuff? Alright. Alright, so am I wrong to connect us to Arab Spring? We were talking about this yesterday. Bahrain, Egypt, Saudi Arabia, Libya. Alright, so Libya gets whipped up into these Arab Spring protests. They begin in Libya on the 15th. Alright, this helps. Thank you. This does help. I think this makes sense. Alright. What? And then by the 18th, the opposition controlled most of Benghazi. Whoa. Hold up. Fucking phone here. That's really sus, right? That's weird, right? So there's our timeline. There's our time in 3 days. There's our timeline. And then about a month later, I guess, and I'm trying to figure this out. Apparently a month later, it appears as though Gaddafi's forces are coming back to take Benghazi. All right, that's my understanding. Let's figure it out. The government dispatched elite troops and militia in an attempt to recapture. They were repelled. By the 20th of February, protests had spread to the capital, Tripoli, leading to a television address by Saif al-Islam Gaddafi, Gaddafi's son, right? Who warned the protesters that the country could descend into civil war, rising death toll numbering in the thousands. Rising in the thousands, this says. Through international condemnation resulted in the resignation of several Libyan diplomats. Amidst ongoing efforts by demonstrations and rebel forces to wrest control of Tripoli from the Jamahiriya, Gaddafi's forces. Opposition set up an interim government in Benghazi to oppose Gaddafi's rule. Did I say in Gaddafi, in Benghazi? However, despite initial opposition success, government forces subsequently took back much of the Mediterranean coast. Okay. March 17th, the UN Security Council resolution adopted. No-fly zones. 2 days later, they start bombing. And then in October, they take him out. All right. So there it is, huh? Is that it? That's it, huh? That's it. What are we looking at, dude? Okay. Dad asked NATO to help its citizens in a rebel-held area. All right. I'm sort of struggling to fit this in here. Alright, so... Sorry. So I guess there are rebel-held areas. Rebels, aka anti-Gaddafi guys, being armed by the West. Is that right? Rebels in Chad calling for help. Say, hey, NATO, we need help. The guys that you're arming are killing people here, right? Is that what's going on? Okay. Who are the rebels? Now that's where I have a lot of questions where I don't know the answer to that. Currently, I got Sunni militants, native tribes against Gaddafi, and likely NATO mercenaries. A lot of times these are Western funded and supported organizations that sort of fit in the Gladio B framework. Islamic fundamentalists, you know, typical mujahideen shit, you know? You know, that same move. All right. But I don't know. That's my broad brushstroke. I need to learn more. Feel free if you can add to my understanding, chat. All right. They're saying here, rebels said Gaddafi had brought in African mercenaries from countries such as Chad and Zimbabwe to help in the crackdown after Libyan troops proved unreliable. Beginning of the Libyan crisis, Chadians in Libya, especially those in areas controlled by Transitional National Council, have been singled out. Is that what's going on here? At the end of the day, the answer is I don't really know. Help me if y'all can help me understand, let me know. Let's go. This is good. We're figuring it out. Sometimes we'll bumble around until we stumble on the truth.
Welcome to the Real News Network. I'm Paul Jay in Washington. In Libya, as we speak, the rebels have taken the compound where Gaddafi and his sons were assumed to have been, but they don't seem to be there now. The force that entered Tripoli, the rebel force, came from western Libya, not eastern Libya, where most of the attention has been centered around Benghazi. The western rebels, we don't know too much about, but Shashank Bengali, the national security correspondent for McClatchy newspapers, was in western Libya in May and met some of those rebels, and he joins us now to talk about it. Thanks for joining us.
My pleasure.
So what were the circumstances and what did you find when you were in western Libya?
Well, western Libya was closed off to reporters for much of the beginning of the fighting. Eventually the rebels took control of one of the border crossings from Tunisia, so I crossed over and got a glimpse of who these guys were. And they're really, much like the rebels in the east, they were civilians who had defected from their government jobs and gone to join the rebel army. But the difference was that they were led not by this rebel military command that was led in the east. They were really just a collection of militias that were centered around 4 or 5 towns along this western mountain chain, sort of between Tripoli south to Tunisia. And these were towns of about 50,000 to 60,000 people apiece. The biggest one, Zintan, was sort of a center, one of the first places where the anti-Gaddafi uprising began. And each of the towns had, the way I understood it...
Like, why do they oppose Gaddafi? Is because probably various reasons, but we do know that there were like Islamic scholars that didn't like him based on Gaddafi's take on private property, which is Marxist and good.
A military command under Gaddafi that
Why
had a
else do they
commander
dislike him?
or commanders who defected very early on. And each commander in those towns then was responsible
Is it because they're big dumb losers?
for linking up his forces with the forces in the neighboring towns.
So these were commanders who had been in the Libyan
Guilty
army.
Beast, love your face. We're doing day 2 of Libya deep dive.
Proper and defected early, because we didn't know a lot about the West. Most of the talk was this was an Eastern uprising. There was a lot of talk that Benghazi was traditionally a place that had been anti-Gaddafi, and that the West was a lot more divided, pro and con Gaddafi. What did you find?
Right, there was definitely a bit of that. There was some places that had Gaddafi supporters in them. Most people in the West, though, are actually Berbers. And they're an ancient tribe, really, that had been marginalized and very heavily suppressed under Gaddafi. They have a language called Tamazight, which was outlawed under Gaddafi. Even naming your child a Tamazight name was outlawed. And Gaddafi had always really suppressed these guys. And one of the first things that the rebellion in the West was about was trying to restore some of the...
I feel like I gotta push back on every single imperial narrative. And it's just like you got to spend some time, but like any amount of scrutiny that you do, narrative always falls apart. What is going on here?
Amazigh culture and the namings and I could see as I drove through, they had scrawled out the Arabic script on some of the buildings and graffitied in Tamazight words.
What's
going on here?
In Benghazi,
follow
it was a
Hildebeest.
somewhat more religious area, more Islamist than certainly Tripoli, so I'm told. What was the situation in Western Libya? How much was this an Islamist issue, or it sounds more like an ethno-cultural issue?
It was very ethnic. Libya is a small country, about 5 million people. The Berbers form, a fraction of that, but they are really central.
Berbers? All right, what's the gist of that thing? Berbers tribes allege Gaddafi mistreatment. What was that? Do I have to go back? What happened there? Vice did a piece entitled Libyan Revolution. Do I have to figure out what he's talking about here? Do I have to go back? God damn it.
Heavily suppressed under Gaddafi. And people in the West, though, are actually Berbers. And they're an ancient tribe, really, that had been marginalized and very heavily suppressed under Gaddafi. They have a language called Tamazight, which was outlawed under Gaddafi. Even naming your child a Tamazight name was outlawed. And Gaddafi had always really...
Is this true? Do I need to look into what's going on here?
Suppress these guys. And one of the first things that the
Marginalized,
rebellion in the
suppressed,
West
marginalized, suppressed.
was trying to restore some of the Amazigh culture and the namings and I could see as I drove through, the rebellion in the West was trying to restore some of the Amazigh culture and the namings and I could see as I drove through, they had scrawled out the Arabic script on some of the buildings and graffitied in Tamazight words.
In Benghazi, it was a somewhat more religious area, more Islamist than certainly Tripoli.
Tamazight? Well, of course, that bit of what I don't know, what it appears to be imperial narrative there. That little bit is, supposed to help build consent for the United States of all countries to arm Libyan rebels. Right? Is that what they're implying here? Who is this guy?
Tripoli.
This seems like some spook guy.
So I'm told.
Who is this guy?
What was?
Are we getting good or bad information here?
The situation in Western Libya, how much was
I don't know
this
what to think about. I don't trust anybody.
This issue, or it sounds more like an ethno-cultural issue?
It was very ethnic.
It's happening.
Libya is a small country, about 5 million people. The Berbers form, a fraction of that. But they are really centered around that area, and so kind of systematic was the oppression that they all sort of felt it. I believe everyone I talked to, the refugees who had streamed into Tunisia, all talked about this.
Now, when you say oppression, what was the situation like? Because we've heard that in Libya, that in terms of the economy and medical care and things like this, that it wasn't so bad. What was the situation like for them?
It was really a political issue, I think. It's easy to think about. Libya has good roads. It has an oil industry. It has workers who come from.
Getting weird vibes from this guy.
From Egypt and Sudan and Bangladesh to come and do the menial work, much as we have in America. We have immigrants coming in to do jobs Americans don't want to do. It's much the same in Libya. Benghazi is full of oil workers from other countries. But it's really a political and ethnic issue. And I think one thing that I learned in covering the Western Rebellion a little bit was that the ethnic issue is one we don't understand all that well in Libya. People always played down, the rebels always played down the tribal issue. They were really, united for a long time, and still are, I think, in their hatred of Gaddafi and his family. What we will have to decide, going forward is how much, is the ethnic issue going to come into play? The differences among the various tribes and clans, and of course the Berbers being one of those.
Now the rebels that entered Tripoli, people or observers or journalists are talking about, they seem more organized, more disciplined. The timing of everything seems to have been more organized. What would lead the Western rebels to be more organized than what people have observed from the East?
Well, it seems like they were, as I said, a collection of militias in different towns. And where they gathered their strength, was when they would join together. And so it was really a very basic command and control structure. It was one or two commanders talking by satellite phone with folks, in the next town along the mountain chain. Imagine, 30, 40 miles separating each town, and really a very difficult terrain, very mountainous, very rugged, and snaking along this mountain road were all these various towns.
How much fighting had there been over the last 2-3 months in this area?
There have been quite a bit. We heard a lot of reports about Gaddafi forces in the crevasses in the valleys shelling these towns, from down below up to the top. There was a lot of that kind of thing going on. What finally happened was Zintan, the largest town in the chain, and it's about, it's the closest town to Tripoli in that mountain chain. That finally became the center where the rebels got organized. They established a media center. Journalists began coming in and observing these guys, really keeping control of their towns and taking fire, and not really fighting pitched battles, but holding their ground and keeping the border with Tunisia open, allowing them to resupply their fighters and get medical care and supplies for these towns. And I think we don't know the full story yet, but allowing trainers from NATO and from Qatar and other countries to use Tunisia as a staging area, to get weapons in, to get foreign trainers in. Tunisia has a long history with the French. I wouldn't be surprised at all to learn that there were French trainers using that border as a way to transit.
Because we've been reading in the last day or two that there's been a lot of guidance coming from NATO on giving satellite information about what's happening in Tripoli, sort of precision information to the forces. And if it's mostly Western forces, that suggests maybe some particular connection between the Western rebels and the NATO.
Look, this had to have been coordinated because NATO forces control the coastline of Tripoli. They're all over the Mediterranean. They have bombed Gaddafi ships that were firing Scud missiles. They have degraded completely the coastline there that Gaddafi's forces were using. And the rebels on Sunday, as they were planning this big raid on Tripoli, sent ships, at least one ship from the east to resupply reinforced fighters. And there's no way that ship could have traveled that distance without coordination with NATO.
Now, when this began in Benghazi, there was a big banner that famously was on the side of a building, which began "No foreign intervention," period. A few weeks later, it went to a no-fly zone, but no boots intervention. So what is the situation amongst the Western rebels in terms of NATO foreign intervention? We're hearing a lot now about NATO wanting to have boots on the ground in order to prevent a civil war. I'm putting quotation marks here because some people are suggesting it may have more to do with NATO wanting to control the outcome of who becomes the government next. But in terms of this attitude towards especially any NATO troops on the ground, what was the response or feeling amongst these Western rebels?
Well, the rebels were really eager when I met them, this is now back in May, very eager for NATO support because they had been fighting, as you said, a rebellion that was out of the news. People were focused on Benghazi, they began to be focused on Misrata because of the siege there. The rebels in the West really were neglected. You know, when I visited them, there had been no journalists there, and I think since the uprising began, really, at least no English-speaking journalists. And so they clearly needed the attention. They finally got it when the sort of critical mass of the uprising in the West really, occurred maybe about 2 months ago now. They are probably more open to NATO intervention because they were part of this big raid on Tripoli that so far is allowing them to hold the city. But like anything, if NATO is seen as interfering with the rebels' ability to really establish their own governance structure, that's going to be a big problem for people.
Thanks for joining us.
My pleasure.
And thank you for joining us on the Real News Network, again with Shashank Bengali from the McClatchy newspaper chain.
Alright. We need to look at the Toyota war right now. How does this thread in here? Euphoric. Have we figured out why NATO went into Libya yet? I think we know why they did. But I do have questions in terms of like what they said their reasons were. You know, what was the big lie? It seems like they're just gonna rely on Arab Spring. Like, I honestly don't seem to have a bunch of people on the record explaining why. They're just like, oh, we gotta prevent a humanitarian crisis. It's like, wait, what? What does that mean? Be more specific. So I'm trying to find more video and examples of them on the record talking about it, and I'm not exactly finding what I'm looking for, but it might not be a thing. What I'm looking for they might not have phrased it like that. Chad, Toyota war was mentioned earlier. Not most relevant for now. Okay. But it was in 87. Chad and Libya. Northern Chad on the border. Named after the trucks. I guess Libya was occupying northern Chad. Alright. But France armed the opposition. Alright, we'll talk about it later. I want to get back to that. Alright. I want to read this. We'll come back to that. Benghazi rebel. Did we finish this?
The assault paves the way for an all-out government offensive on the rebel stronghold of Benghazi.
All right.
On Libyan TV.
This is the narrative.
On Tuesday, a military spokesman said that
seems they used the color revolution. Hold up. They used the color revolution to... Hold up. Fuck, my shit's out of order. Anti-government protests begin in February. 3 days later, the opposition controls Benghazi. Now, I don't know exactly how that happens, but they probably did it with guns. They probably did it with guns supported by the West. I guess, right? I need to learn more. But also reconnaissance. Yeah, I'd like to learn more about how they did that. Too. Specifically, how did they arm these rebels? Excuse me.
Airstrikes have already started. He said Gaddafi's army has reached the frontier with Egypt and that Benghazi is now completely surrounded. Most residents have now reportedly fled the city, leaving it in the hands of rebels who are gearing up for an all-out attack, which, if successful, could prove to be the decisive factor for the control of Libya.
Okay. Composition of the rebel forces. I'm going to have my reader read.
The rebels primarily included civilians, such as teachers, students, lawyers, and oil workers, but also defected police officers and professional soldiers.
Cops.
142. Many Islamists were part of the rebel movement in both eastern and western Libya. 143. Rebel group primarily initiated from Misrati, Zentan and Derna. In Benghazi, the February 17th Brigade was a powerful Islamist group composed of 12 different brigades. The Libya Shield was based out of Mastrata and Zaria. There was also the Libyan Islamic Fighting Group, 144, and the Obeida ibn Jarrah Brigade, which has been held responsible for the assassination of top rebel commander General Abdul Fattah Yunus, 145.
Reader.
Gaddafi's administration repeatedly asserted that the rebels included al-Qaeda fighters. 146. Rebels denied this. 147. NATO's Supreme Allied Commander James G. Stavridis stated that intelligence reports suggested there were flickers of al-Qaeda activity among rebels, but that there was insufficient information to confirm a significant presence of terrorist groups. 148. 149. Gaddafi's claims are supported by a 2008 secret cable from the U.S. Embassy in Tripoli to the U.S. State Department, and an analysis by the Combating Terrorism Center at the U.S. Military Academy at West Point of a set of documents called the Sinjar Records, purporting to show a statistical study of the al-Qaeda personnel records. The West Point analysis of these documents concluded that Libya provided far more foreign fighters in per capita terms than any other country. 150. A disclosed file from 2005 on WikiLeaks found that rebel leader Abu Sufyan Ibrahim Ahmed Hamouda bin Kumu was a former Guantanamo Bay detainee alleged to be a member of the Libyan Islamic Fighting Group, to have joined the Taliban in 1998, and that he was a probable member of al-Qaeda and a member of the African Extremist Network. 151. In the days leading up to the conflict, Gaddafi called for a rally against the government that was to be held on the 17th of February. The International Crisis Group believes this to have been a political maneuver to divert attention away from himself and the Jamahiriya political system towards government officials currently in power. 125. Later in February, Gaddafi stated that the rebels were influenced by al-Qaeda, Osama bin Laden, and hallucinogenic drugs put in drinks and pills. He specifically referred to substances in milk, coffee, and Nescafé, and said that bin Laden and al-Qaeda were distributing these hallucinogenic drugs. He also blamed alcohol. 152, 153. Gaddafi later also stated that the revolt against his rule was the result of a colonialist plot by foreign states, particularly blaming France, the US and the UK, to control oil and enslave the Libyan people. He referred to the rebels as cockroaches and rats, and vowed not to step down and to cleanse Libya house by house until the insurrection was crushed. 154, 155, 156. He said that if the rebels laid down their arms, they would not be harmed. He also said that he had been receiving thousands of phone calls from Benghazi, from residents who were being held hostage and who wanted to be rescued. Gaddafi said in a speech addressed to Benghazi on the 17th of March 2011 that the rebels can run away, they can go to Egypt. Those who would surrender their weapons and would join our side, we are the people of Libya. Those who surrender their weapons and would come without their arms, we would forgive them, and would have amnesty for those who put down their weapons. Anyone who throws his arms away and stays at home would be protected. 157. Libya's ambassador in Malta addressed that many people instigating unrest were arrested. Libya will show that these belonged to al-Qaeda. Some young protesters were also misled. The government is ready to dialogue with them. He cited reports from the Libyan Foreign Ministry that up to 2,500 al-Qaeda foreign operatives have been working in eastern Libya and were mostly responsible for stirring up trouble. He concluded, what we saw in Tahrir Square and in Tunisia was a clear situation. But in Libya, there is something different. 158. He called himself a warrior, and vowed to fight on and die a martyr, and urged his supporters to leave their homes and attack rebels in their lairs. Gaddafi said that he had not yet ordered the use of force, and threatened that everything will burn when he did. Responding to demands that he step down, he stated that he could not step down, as he held a purely symbolic position like Queen Elizabeth, and that the people were in power. 159. Saif al-Islam Gaddafi, in an interview with ABC on the 17th of March, stated that the rebels in Benghazi engaged in terror against the population. He stated, "You know, the armored militia yesterday, they killed 4 young boys in Benghazi. Why? Because they were against them. Everybody is terrified because of the armed militia. They live in terror, nightmare. Armed people are everywhere. They have their own courts. They execute the people who are against them. No school, no hospital, no money, no banks." 161. The Libyan government were reported to have employed snipers, artillery, helicopter gunships, warplanes, anti-aircraft weaponry, and warships against demonstrations and funeral processions. 162. It was also reported that security forces and foreign mercenaries repeatedly used firearms, including assault rifles and machine guns, as well as knives against protesters. Amnesty International initially reported that writers, intellectuals and other prominent opposition sympathizers disappeared during the early days of the conflict in Gaddafi-controlled cities, and that they may have been subjected to torture or execution. 163.
Find a lot of this hard to believe. Okay. What else you got for me? What is this?
Speaking directly for himself and for the president, he meant the White House.
All right, now this is after the Benghazi attack in 2012. We never finished this hyper-normalization. We'll have to peek at that. Again. Someone gave me this. 42 minutes. Libya, Destruction of a Nation. DW documentary. There's some TOS coming up. Is that right? Let me see if I can remember this. Qatar admits sending hundreds of troops to support Libyan rebels. Interesting. Alright. Rebels. Qatar. Hundreds of troops. Hundreds of troops. Training, communications, and strategy. A nap. NATO-led attacks. I'm getting bored. Sleepy. Need a nap. All right. What did we learn? What did we learn? Qatar is sending hundreds of troops. These are likely people who help the anti-Gaddafi rebels take Benghazi. Is that right? Qatar, are we to assume with U.S. support too? Oh my god. Oh my god. What's going on here? Okay. Do this documentary. Maybe I can hang in there for a little while. I think there's TOS I gotta be aware of though. TOS 4 minutes in. And maybe about okay. Well, here we go. Libya, destruction of a nation. Destruction.
خلوا مسافة بيناتكم وتقصير في الطريق في قطعة في الطريق واضح بالكامل واضح بالكامل
ليبيا كبيرة لديها كل المقومات النجاح
Libya is a big country. We've got everything we need to develop.
لديها صحراء كبيرة لديها جبال
We've got the sea, a huge desert, mountains, oil, gas, gold mines, all kinds of minerals. All this for a population of about 6 million. But the countries around us just can't leave us alone.
Ahmed Shanab is a Libyan fighting against foreign interference in his country.
Europe, Turkey, Russia, the US, our neighboring countries, they're all trying to exploit Libya for their own interests. They're slicing up Libya like a cake.
Since Muammar Gaddafi was ousted, Libya has had 9 governments. 142 political parties have been founded, and every new attempt to hold elections has reignited conflict. As Africa's 4th largest oil producer, Libya rouses great interest. And its chronic instability has attracted many dubious actors.
You from Ukraine?
This nation has become the playground of the world's great powers, raising a key question: who is sowing chaos in Libya? In the beginning, the Libyan revolution seemed full of hope.
17 فبراير قلبا وقالبا معاه ولين نموت معاه.
It put an end to the
Arab Spring.
42-year reign of a dictator, Colonel Muammar Gaddafi.
Oh.
But after the fall of Gaddafi, the revolutionaries did not lay down their arms. The country was divided. The three big cities that spurred the revolution vied for power and control of the oil fields. The western cities of Tripoli and Misrata were on the one side, facing the eastern city of Benghazi on the other.
The split began in 2014, during the first election. Tripoli and Misrata were the Western command centers, and in the east, Benghazi. The population gradually took sides, and it wasn't long before the guns started going off.
Islamic extremists soon seized the opportunity to infiltrate the vulnerable country.
الأخوة يجرون ويصولون بها ها هم سود التوحيد ها هم جنود الخلافة.
They sowed terror among the population.
امشي قدام يا فاسد اسكت اسكت يا عرس اسكت اسكت يا حيوان.
They took away the revolutionaries' weapons.
هذه أحد غنائم المرتدين. لا الحمد والمنة هم جنود الخلافة. كلمة المرتدين كلمة المرتدين. أبشر يا أعداء الله أكبر. كلمة يا شيخ. كلمة المرتدين الله أكبر. كلمة يا نصيب. الله أكبر. نسأل الله يشفيك أخي نسأل الله يشفيك.
In the midst of this chaos, one man decided to take matters into his own hands. His name, Khalifa Haftar. He declared he would take over the country in order to unify.
Wait. The West's guy. The CIA guy. The guy who spent time in Langley.
It. He appointed himself leader of the Libyan army.
The Libyan National Army has been mobilized. Saving the country is its duty. We don't want to seize power or govern. We want to restore peace and conduct free democratic elections.
Who was this mysterious figure? And how could a man without financial resources or political support mobilize an army to back him?
Get the fuck out of here.
All state representatives, police officers, and soldiers are to report to their barracks and bases. Our goal is to save the nation.
The key to the mystery might lie in the commander's career path. Khalifa Haftar was a top military officer in the Gaddafi regime. In 1987, on behalf of the dictator, Haftar led an offensive against the neighboring country of Chad. He was taken as a prisoner of war. It was during this period that Haftar was recruited by the CIA to topple Gaddafi, as reported in the New York Times. Quote, Mr. Haftar's work for the CIA, like almost all spy operations, is draped in mystery.
Here it is.
When his mission fell through, Haftar went into exile in the United States. Quote, Mr. Haftar and his sons settled in Northern Virginia, where they eventually bought several properties.
What properties?
He started attracting the interest of external actors, especially in the West. The US and France especially were interested in the role Haftar could play in helping fight terrorism.
Terrorism.
Cette armée-là, elle s'est donnée pour objectif de combattre.
His army's top goal was fighting terrorism. which it did do. It fought terrorism in Derna, in Benghazi, in Sirte, and in Fezzan. Terrorism was a real and serious threat for us as well. And his army, with our support, won big victories against this threat.
What?
After 27 years of exile in the US, Khalifa Haftar reappeared onto the Libyan political scene. He seemed to be the only figure capable of standing up to the so-called Islamic State terrorist group, whose advances across the Middle East had the West worried.
This isn't a coup d'etat. It's not a coup d'etat in the traditional sense of the term.
Many Libyans in the East rallied to his side. But Tripoli and Misrata refused to fall in line with Haftar, whom they saw as a new dictator.
Look at him, he looks like Saddam.
War broke out. To oppose Haftar's army, the western cities armed their young men and prepared them for battle. Ahmed Shanab was one of the first to join the fight.
Ahmed, I met you when you were a student at university. Now you're in uniform, carrying a gun.
Yes, and this is Osama. He's a student too. We're here to help with the war. We're civilians, but we dropped out of school to lend our revolutionary brothers a hand. It's the right thing to do, because their struggle is just. We believe in them. It's as simple as that.
Are you afraid of dying?
Death can strike at any time. Haftar's bombs could land on us at any second. Right here, at my home, at my school, in the street. We have to fight so that our younger brothers and our children can live in peace in Libya. I face death every single day.
A few years later, Ahmed would lose both his brother and his friend Osama on the battlefield.
In 2014, I was only 2 years away from graduating. I was studying the architecture of Spain, the United States, France, Italy, Dubai. And I thought to myself, my greatest wish is for Libya to develop that way. And I'm helping make that happen. I never would have imagined, even in my worst nightmares, that our country would be divided between Benghazi and Misrata, between the West and the East. Never. Nobody could have imagined such a thing.
Libya plunged into endless war. The country went from ceasefires to conflict and back again. There were international conferences, and the UN Security Council issued report after report, but nothing changed on the ground. 5 years into the conflict, the battle lines hadn't budged. Nobody could win. Until 2019. Khalifa Haftar launched a large-scale offensive, conquering 85% of the country. He advanced to the gates of the Libyan capital. Fighters from Misrata flocked to Tripoli to bolster the forces of the Government of National Accord. They tried to defend the city from Haftar's attack.
All right. When was this? It's 2011, 2012? Is this after UN? After UN, in the wake of it, Libya's descending into civil war. Okay. But this is before the 2012 Benghazi attack on the U.S. Embassy? They're talking about the descent into civil war?
We were all surprised
from the
by the
West.
swiftness and violence of Haftar's attack on Tripoli. It baffled us. Who was backing this powerful force that had covered 1,200 kilometers from east to west so quickly? We had lots of questions.
It's Haftar guy, right? The CIA guy. For the West has picked their side, right? After they take out Gaddafi, the West has picked their side. And they'll continue to pick a side. Fight this civil war until the last Libyan.
On the ground, both
2014?
sides fought ferociously for control of Tripoli airport.
Our intelligence was clear. Initially, we intercepted messages, but we still had doubts. We eventually confirmed they were Russian mercenaries working for the Wagner Group, one of the world's biggest private military companies.
Libya has become a war theater for other countries. Those nations fight each other here. Unfortunately, we're only their puppets.
Who do they say they were fighting for?
But we still...
Who's this guy?
Our intelligence was clear. Initially, we intercepted messages, but we still had doubts. We eventually confirmed they were Russian mercenaries working for the Wagner Group, one of the world's biggest private military companies.
Oh, it did. Documentary was released yesterday, yeah. Okay, so they're saying... I actually don't understand. In that video, the guy's saying, from the Western... Matter in the Western Libyan army, he's saying he's fighting these Wagner Group guys? The Wagner Group are fighting for... Not actually following everything there, but...
Those nations fight each other here. Unfortunately, we're only their puppets.
They're fighting against...
A UN Security Council
Wagner Group guys are fighting against that CIA guy?
report confirmed.
Is that right?
This documentation proves the presence of Wagner in Libya and that they were reporting on wide military issues to their headquarters in St. Petersburg. The same report confirms the Wagner Group's presence in Tarhuna, just outside Tripoli, and crucially, near Libya's 3 most important oil fields.
Right. So again, the West and the CIA guy have forces in this area now. Then in Benghazi, the forces that are not supported by the West, they're fighting over the oil fields. And the force not supported by the West is supported by the Wagner Group. And they're just over there, they're getting hired by, are they just getting hired out? Is that just like pure contractor shit or what's going on?
Oil fields.
We saw Wagner intervene in Syria, and we're seeing Wagner intervene in the Central African Republic and in Libya.
They go Wagner Group and they show like one picture of a dude with tattoos on his neck, right? Do they have like... It's not even to the same amount of the claim that like Azov is Nazis, where they're all literally wearing a Nazi patch. Many of them have like legit ass Sonnenrada tattoos, legit ass swastikas, and I'm like, this is just not the same. They're folded into the Ukrainian army officially. Like, what the fuck? Like, all Nazis die. But like, I don't know.
Libya. They follow the same pattern every time. They come in and start waging war without answering to anybody, because they supposedly operate independently of any world power. They don't admit to working for the Russian state, but their militias obey Russia's orders. They help themselves to oil here, or a gold mine there, or a diamond mine in the Central African Republic. The method is always the same, and it's not acceptable.
Okay, well, the West should stop arming rebel groups all over the place. I also don't want Wagner Group all over the fucking place. But the West should stop arming rebel groups all over the place. That's like Russian Blackwater, yeah. US be fucking around. Then Russia's like, all right, well, I guess you're gonna have to find out. And then the US is like, you ruin everything. Every time, right? The same thing every time. You guys hate human rights. Let me abuse human rights in peace. What is this? I don't know how to read. What's 3 pages? I can handle that. Do I need to read this now? How does this help? What am I looking at? Right, because I'm in the middle of a thing, right? Let's get back to the thing. Here we go.
My question is for the Russian President, Mr. Putin. Can you confirm that the Wagner Group has 2,000 mercenaries in Libya?
Right.
Or tell us how many Russian and Wagner mercenaries are fighting there?
If these soldiers are indeed there and Russian citizens, they're not acting on behalf of the Russian state, nor do they receive financial support from the Russian state.
I don't know. I'd have to see who they're sending. It's like when the United States sends Malcolm Nance to Ukraine. That is an explicit connection. You cannot deny that unless you're stupid. Right? But we do know the existence of like Blackwater types. Same time, like the United States would let those types go overseas if it weren't in the US's interest. Assume the same applies to Russia. Further showing we should try to do everything we can to not be sending these assholes all over the place. Create the conditions under which, well, there's no fucking around or finding out. Oh no. Keep going here.
But Russia isn't the only foreign country interfering in Libya. In 2019, Sudanese fighters
My God, the way they said that.
appeared on Libyan soil alongside Haftar's forces. Abdullah's story, like hundreds of others, started with a work contract in the United Arab Emirates.
You'd still be finding out. Well, I think if the West never fucked around over there, they'd been enjoying what Gaddafi was building for them. Right? That's what they'd be finding out. Instead, everyone's finding out what the West had in store for them the entire time, which is to destroy Libya.
I left Sudan with big dreams. I was going to work in Abu Dhabi.
Finding out is inevitable? What does that mean? In support of this guy. Yo. We had it backwards. Wagner, 300 Wagner PMCs in Benghazi supporting Haftar. Wow. Actually, yeah. Wagner group supporting the CIA puppet. Unless I'm misreading this. Wait. I don't know. It seems like it. I'm misreading this? Found girl, respect her. Welcome in. Thank you, Paul Flowers. So what? So the U.S. is colluding with the evil Russian Nazis. Yeah. Yep. Believe so. Yo, that was like 3 years ago. Just 3 years ago. Well, they're just evil Russian Nazis. I don't know. It doesn't matter whether or not they're evil Russian Nazis. They're evil Russian Nazis, or they're just evil Russian paramilitary dudes. Which is probably closer to the truth. Whereas they want to give guys with actual Nazi tattoos in Ukraine money. That's why they're making it such a big distraction. But it just seems like they're just a contracted paramilitary group. They'll go anywhere. I don't know. Is that what's going on here? Nine biddies. Thank you for the biddies, homie. I'm confused. Hard to read this sometimes. I feel like I'm being pulled left and right the entire time. The libs say the Wagner Group's the real Nazis. Who says that? They're Nazis or they're not. They're just... What they want to say is that the Wagner Group is bigger and scarier. Like, that's just not how this works. Not a contest of Nazis. It is, though, the ability to say, you know what, we shouldn't be supporting any Nazis. Like, I'm okay with that. But at the end of the day, we gotta have a material understanding about what the fuck we're talking about. And that's a non-material argument. Vibes.
Well, they're the bigger Nazis.
So annoying. You know immediately you can not take that person seriously. It's a shortcut. You should be thanking them. Like Erdogan's talking about the Wagner PMC guys too. Like he's mad about them, accusing UAE of financing them. What's going on here? I need a Wagner Group expert to come talk to me about this. I don't want to have to be the guy to do the Wagner Group deep dive. Why does this got to be me? Why do I got to do all of this? Why does it got to be me? Isn't this annoying? I'm a dumb guy. I want to talk about, like, music and fart jokes. Why does it gotta be me? Why do I have to ask the tough questions? Fucking Wagner Group. Wagner? No. Barely know her. You know what I mean? Whoop-pa! Oh! Yeah. I want to have to do a Wagner deep dive. This seems really annoying. Yeah. They don't pay me enough. Actually, y'all are extremely supportive. I'm gonna shill for myself right now. I'm shilling. I'm hitting the button. Face. You do pay me enough to do this. Truly, it is a big joy of mine that I get to cover anti-imperialist news every day. We get to do deep dives. I'm trying to improve my material analysis. Maybe someday we'll do some blood sport debate stuff. I know you sickos would like to see me do that. But if I were to ever get into debates, I wanted to make sure that I'm prepared. You know? Think about what I'm doing right now as debate prep. I may never do a debate. Nope. But the point is, if I ever did, I would be way more prepared than any of these neoliberal, reactionary empire cucks. Am I right? Give me a 69 in chat. Am I right? Is the format I've done before? Yes. How many days during a deep dive? It all depends. I don't know. Depends on the topic. But more importantly, I'm doubling down on the Encyclopedia Danica, which you see over here. Hey, Right Left Dead. We're here to debate. Well, I don't want to embarrass you, so I don't think we should do that. Gonna take that? You gonna take that? Not a ballparker? Sometimes a day, sometimes a couple hours, sometimes I spend a couple days. I'm on day 2 of Libya. Sometimes we do a deep dive and set something aside and come back to it later. No deep dive is ever divined. Deep divined. Nice. Every deep dive takes 69 days. I don't make the rules. Just how it works out. You've been debating Taylor Swift fan for 3 days. You're tired. I would definitely win. I'm a debate bro. I get off on it. I'm like a little freak. But I try to hide my debate bro power level. Because I know you freaks don't really want that all the time. At the same time, the point is this. Nice. Point is this. To me, it is important that you know, I have a good set of knowledge of the facts. Specifically, I'm getting more and more into geopolitics so that you can know. I want to know so that I can share it with you and so that you can know. So that, like, in real time or near real time, when they're giving us their bullshit reasons for doing class war wherever they want to do it next, we can call them out in real time that much more effectively. Okay? We can do that and also find that, especially on Twitch and Twitter and YouTube, There are content creators who play a role in that manufacturing of consent. And we know that they play this role because they say the same lies that Empire uses as their justification to do these things. They wouldn't say these lies if they didn't need them in some level. They're telling us that they need these lies to work. Otherwise, they can't do what they want to do. Otherwise, they wouldn't be lying. They would just use facts. So clearly there's an opportunity there to force the contradiction. Clearly there's an opportunity there to force the contradiction in real time. But we cannot do that in real time if we can't catch the contradiction. So we actually have what I think is an important platform here. We have an important opportunity to learn their patterns, their modus operandi. You know, I'm such a small guy that I'll be able to fly under their radar. Learn their shit so that we can call it out more effectively in real time. So we can call out all the other creators who also carry water for Empire. All the other manufacturers of consent, willing or otherwise. All the cucks of Empire. All the propagandized. And we can have them, we can learn to get them on the record. You got a scoop for me? Why do I feel this is a joke? Y'all see where I'm going with that? Well, it's not about me becoming a debate bro. But it's about me understanding the debate, the way that these debate bro sickos work, so that I can push back on their shit in real time. So we can do that as a community. It's not good enough for me to be able to do it. I won't fucking rest until y'all can do it too. That means we all have a lot to learn. AFO Rep Adam Kinzinger from Illinois, this guy. Joining the board of Ripley's Heroes? What the fuck is that? Ripley's Believe It or Not? And it's being accused of stealing hundreds of thousands of dollars? What's going on there? We do it because it's right. The fake nonprofit. That guy is, I think he's in free fall mode. Someone check on Adam Kinzinger. Okay. So, what does this mean? What does this mean? For me, this means I need to keep learning every day. I need to keep taking notes every day. For whatever reason, I can't store all of my knowledge in my head. I need to put it in a separate place. So I got this notebook, the Encyclopedia Danica over here. Okay? Every day, I need to spend time writing in my journal, my geopolitics journal, and organizing it each day. And over time, this is going to become an incredibly valuable tool for me, for us as a community. I'm like really stoked. I just got to learn how to invest my time and energy. And if I do this every day, I spend the time here every day. And spend a little bit of time, investing in writing in and tidying up my journal. My journal. You wouldn't get it. It's my journal. Imagine how valuable this tool will be in a few years. I got to keep reminding myself of this. Because this thing's going to be fucking insane. I just got to keep reminding myself the value of this tool. It's really just my brain, it's just my brain spelled out on the page there. And I gotta organize it and, this is gonna be sick. This is gonna be really valuable for us. Alright. Malcolm Nance is involved. What is going on? Something is up here. All right. Ripley's Heroes. Dude, if Dylan's involved, I'm gonna shit my pants. I'm gonna shit your pants. I'm gonna come over and shit in your pants. Take your pants off, Ross. It's time for me to shit in your pants. All right, it's not news yet. Let's figure it out. Okay, but back to Libya. Where am I with this? Where am I with my questions? My questions for today were surrounding whether or not we can get some people on the record talking about it from then. We got some video, but I sort of feel like I didn't find what I was looking for. At the same time, I don't know what I'm looking for, whether or not it exists in the form that I'm looking for it. However, if you have more video of people at the time defending it, be it State Department, be it White House, or honestly journalists, pundits, if you got a video maybe of Sam Cedar talking about Libya, I'd love to see it. Let me know if you've got video of these people going on the record talking about why they think the UN invasion of Libya was justified. I think that it's disappointing that there's sort of a lack of that right now. A lack of people going... there seems to be us having a lack of video or evidence of them going on the record for this brutal invasion. And that does mean that now we know that we should be forcing more and more and more people to go on the record about these things. So that, you know, future generations will be able to do what we're doing right now that much more effectively. Y'all see where I'm going with this? We have a good opportunity here to force some contradictions. We could do it from our fucking homes. Like, I'm going to be able to do it, you know, sitting right here at my dumb little desk in front of my silly monitors. Right? We should do this. We have a great opportunity. We have a responsibility. This is important. Where were we? That long article should scan again. What do you mean? Which one, homie? And what should I scan it for? You could feel free to just hold my hand through anything. Speaking of Kinzinger, check the PFP. The CSIS. So CSIS, by the way, right? What is that? Center for Strategic and International Studies. This is a neo-conservative think tank. Right? And then, yes, Kinzinger changed his PFP. He does have another account, though, homie. Are we sure this isn't the one? Does he have another one with the NAFO PFP? Here's the thing. The other one's got the NAFO PFP. So there's that. Don't get excited. I'm gonna have to figure out something come New Year's Eve. Because those things are gonna be flowering. And I'm gonna be out of the home for a couple days. links. I'm gonna come over and take a look at it. Adam Kinzinger at Adam Kinzinger. Okay. A reminder, folks, if you happen to be on the lookout, or if you happen to be able to look for video of Obama, someone from the State Department, Sam Cedar, any other talking heads talking about Libya, whether or not it was justified, I'd like to hear them be on the record. Let me know if you find anything. You can drop those links, please, in my Discord for the channel Deep Dives, because we're doing the Libya Deep Dive currently. All right, the PDF. The Libyan Intervention, a study in the U.S. Grand Strategy. All right. Intervention in Libya sparked another debate over the role of the grand strategy. Can I have my reader read this? It won't read because it's an extension. Analysts asking if there's a new Obama doctrine or if Obama's simply muddling through and ad hocing it for from one foreign policy crisis to another. In fact, some pro-administration members of the commentariat argue that Obama's success reflects the absence of grand strategy. We disagree. Again, this is a neoconservative think tank. In fact, we believe that grand strategy, although it's not been defined explicitly yet, has helped the Obama administration navigate its way through a minefield of difficult choices. The grand strategy is just U.S. foreign policy. Page 2. I might as well read it. We define grand strategy as both what a nation pursues, including prioritization of national ends or interests, and how it seeks those ends, whether collaboratively or unilaterally, as nationalist, internationalist, proactively, reactively. Obama's evolving grand strategy might be categorized as balancing internationalism with these characteristics. Internationalism. What is that thing? What is that? That's what Sam said. Obama gives approximately equal weight to security, economics, and values, the three baskets of national interests. He prefers collaborative action with other nations, but when stakes are at high enough, Obama is capable of uber unilateralism. And his bias for internationalism seems genuine, but the priority he gives to U.S. security and economic interests is distinctly nationalist. Internationalist? What the fuck does that even mean? He bombs the international scene. He's an international terrorist. Blah, 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 blah. Balanced internationalism? What the fuck are they talking about? Right, what's at stake? They're talking about Arab Spring. Here. Obama administrations carefully weighed the ends at stake in each country. Tunisia, Egypt, Bahrain, Yemen, etc. Against the means it was willing to use and reached a different balance for each situation. Oh my God, what did they do? They give Obama, like, for each Arab Spring, they gave him like a goodie, like a coup kit, a different coup kit choice. Choose your coup kit. Coup kits are on sale. 5 for 1. They're like, hey, Obama, we'll do 5 coups for the price of 1. And you could tell us what kind of coup you want. Is that what they did? Is that what they did? They're like, Obama, we got to do this coup. Can you please let us do the coup? Let us do coup. Come on, let us coup. In the case with Libya, the security and economic stakes were relatively low. Gaddafi's successful suppression by force of democratic unrest could have encouraged other dictators to resort to repression, and most Libyan oil goes to Europe. What? What? Okay. They're saying since Gaddafi repressed the Arab Spring by force, others could look around and do the same. Is that right? What does this say? And most Libyan oil goes to Europe? I'm sort of not picking up what they're putting down. However, American values were at stake because Gaddafi threatened to kill all the cockroaches house by house in the rebel stronghold of Benghazi. It's a civil war. Yo, do you hear how Ukrainians talk about Russians? What point do they think they're making here? What about what the rebels were saying about Gaddafi? What about what the rebels did to Gaddafi in the streets? Like, I don't... This is... It's so wild. They totally cherry-picked this quote that Gaddafi's using against these Western armed rebels. Gaddafi also said that if any of them dropped their arms, they wouldn't be threatened. They would be fine. Like, where's that part of the quote? There's that. It quotes out of context if you read the entire speech. Yeah, like we did before. All right. As Obama clearly indicated in his March 28 National Defense University speech, he did not want a repeat of Rwanda when the U.S. stood on the sidelines as atrocities occurred in a country where the U.S. had only minor economic and security interests. Turning a blind eye, Obama judged could have been a betrayal of who we are. On the other hand, he did not want to take ownership of Libya as his predecessor had taken in Iraq because the U.S. security and economic stakes did not warrant them. The whole thing relies on this whole thing right there. The whole Western intervention, they keep going back to this line, which is truly such an egregious mischaracterization of a quote that it's almost disinformation. This is blatant misinformation, okay? It's true information in the sense that that's like accurate, but it's not the whole story, and it's manipulatively so. This is a form of misinformation. So it's a lie. Not that, again, we already covered it, okay? So, again, the Western justification relies on a lie. So I'm saying they lied. The gross mischaracterization. A gross mischaracterization. But their reasoning relies on it. Otherwise, they would just use something that wasn't a mischaracterization, something that wasn't a blatant lie. Oh my God. So again, even when you take the way that the West frames it, it's a lie. Not justified. There's never been a justified Western invasion, and I just don't understand I think the contradiction needs to be forced until these Western pundits answer for this, which is whether or not the West has had a justified invasion. They like to try to argue that it was justified to go in, but sometimes it goes sideways. Sam goes, this was a legitimate exercise that just went sideways. What the fuck, Sam? What was legitimate about it? I honestly want them to go on the record and explain it if they haven't done so already. Was it that Gaddafi and his troops were going to roll into Benghazi and take down the rebels? Was that the case? And they were worried about the civilians then? Why weren't they worried about the civilians when the rebels took Benghazi? Why weren't they worried when the West was arming the rebels? Why weren't they worried when the West was putting the civilians into harm's way to begin with? And you can repeat that for every fucking conflict that the West gets involved with. I don't know how people don't see this pattern. All we had to do is spend 2 days looking into this to figure this out. That's why, because it takes time. It takes time to cut through the Western narrative of every fucking conflict. But if you apply scrutiny, and if you do it with the help of the Only Dan's community, you'll figure it out too. All right. Hey, Karam. I would follow Karam. Let's go. Trying to get on Karam's lover over here, you know? All right, hold on. I want to make sure I got the good bits out of this. Obama clearly indicated in his 20s that all right, the Rwanda thing. Yo, that is such bullshit. He's like, we couldn't do what we did when it came to Rwanda. It's not who we are. But now, we're going to Libya. And we do it because it's right. We do it because it's right. All right. In terms of an impression, that was like a 6 out of 10. That was mid. I can't do Obama. I cannot do Obama. Can you just tell me to not do that again? Because I'm scared I'll do it again and embarrass myself again. Just come right on and say it. Don't do it again, Dan. All right, hold on. Slow up. Slow up here. We got Lukashenko said about the NATO bombing and killing of Gaddafi at the time. Lukashenko.
Nope.
Lukashenko saying NATO worse than Nazis and treating Gaddafi. All right, what? That seems quite exaggerated. Saying here, Lukashenko November the 4th, so this is like a couple weeks after the bombing. I believe it was in October. Saying NATO was worse than Nazis in its treatment of ex-Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi, said Belarusian President Lukashenko. Y'all remember Lukashenko? Lukashenko. He said there was an act of aggression and the national leaders, including Gaddafi, were killed. He was not killed on a battlefield. Yeah. He was tortured and shot, treated worse than the Nazis in their time, he said. I don't know. No, I mean, I don't know. That's not accurate. Yeah, it's a no. Don't do it again? Jeez. Really? You liked it? 11 out of 10? You're joking. There's a 10-year-old video of Sam talking about Libya in a show called Ring of Fire. Really? You searched Midwest Manitoba. Thank you. Not much more than what he has already said in there, though. Okay. Okay. That's a wild take over here. Lukashenko, huh? What's the deal with this? What is this? Gaddafi had like a bunker? Three-meter thick olive green walls of the former Libyan leader's compound stretch for miles. This is real? Watched over by machine gun posts. 50-meter intervals. Is this real? I never knew about this. Like a medieval castle. These concrete defenses enclose inner walls, and then over fields of what have been seen gunfire in recent days stands a cluster of culturally inarticulate living quarters. Culturally inarticulate? A clumsy Zenga palace? What am I reading? With the inevitable marble-lined walls, gold-fitting steam rooms, and jacuzzis. I don't know what I just read. It could have been racism, and I wouldn't even know if I just read that. I'm sorry. What does that mean? I have no idea what that means. The fuck's that? Here in the grounds. The House of Resistance, a ruin even before the present revolution, prized by the Libyan dictators, a symbol of his survival against U.S. bombing 25 years ago. All right. Really? Did they got pictures? They got more pictures? The ruins of Bab al-Azizia. Splendid gate. Is there a video of this? They built it in response to another coup took place in the 90s. Homie, was that the Grey Wolves one? Did you tell me about that one yesterday? That's when we believe it could have started, right? Started butting heads with his Islamic scholars based on private property. Because he's like a Marxist and shit. The Islamic scholars are like, hold on a second, that's not, you know, that's not halal, you know what I mean? So, they were like, I think the CIA you got Mujahideen getting involved, leading me to believe this is Gladio B. Grey Wolf stuff, right? Wait, did we also just figure out this is when they got the guy in there? When did they get the guy? That friend, the guy, Haftar? When does he come into town? There it is. Well, the U.S. helps him get out of jail, huh? And then he goes in 1990, he goes lives in Langley for a couple decades. He's in Langley at the time? He's not... Is he... Come on, he's probably getting involved in that bit, though, right? Getting involved in this little thing? What do you think about that? Involves some GW's apparatus, mainly Islamic, led with Mujahideen and other factions. Okay. Okay, I'm learning here. Trying to learn here. Alright. I got Islamic uprising against Gaddafi in the 90s. The 90s coup, okay. So Libya's heading in a real nice direction, I believe, at the time. My understanding tells me. Islamic uprising. You're saying involved some GWs, mainly Islamic led, Mujahideen, other factions. Foreign fighters. Oh, there it is. Yeah, I wonder who has worked with the Mujahideen and access to sarin gas. We got Grey Wolves. The connection regarding the early connection of NATO with Libya jihadists as those Mujahideen. All right. So I'm going to go the Islamic led plus GWs plus equals Gladio B. It's just simple math. You wouldn't say definitively GWs were fighting alongside or in the country during the coup attempt, but freedom fighters trained by GW were there without a doubt. Okay. Just stealing your notes, homie. Hope you don't mind. Why didn't Russia support Gaddafi? Is that true? I don't know. I don't know. Like some leaders at the time wanted their distance. I don't know. I can't speak to that. Is that true? You haven't read anything substantive putting GW cells in Libya during the 90s, but we're mainly talking about jihadists who receive funding training through this NATO Operation Gladio. So maybe we say GW adjacent. All right, just trying to wrap my head around this. Yeah, at the very least they receive training from. Yeah, okay. That makes actually a lot more sense, right? That's what they be doing. What they be doing. All right. EWs again, huh? Gladio B. Alrighty. Let's see how are my questions. Are my questions answered over here? We pretty much get the implied motivations. You know, what they won't admit until sometimes decades later. Stated motivations though. Still it's like trying to nail fucking jelly to a tree over here. We don't seem to have a lot of them on the record talking about it, do we? They're just not saying exactly why. They use this gross mischaracterization. And then they murder him. They try to take him out with a missile. They really try to get him with that missile. They didn't want that video of what happened. They didn't want that video coming out. Boy, oh boy, huh? How about that? All right. Okay, so we're saying GW adjacent at the very least because this, which is Mujahideen of Iraq and Libya. They were off fighting in the Soviet-Afghan conflict. And they were GW trained and organized. They're always bumping into each other all the time. They're like, oh my God, hey, we saw you last conflict. How you doing? How you kids? Yeah? Doing okay? No? No? Not doing okay? Sorry to hear that. Yes, that's also why I'm doing jihad. They also fucked with my family too. Death to the west. Death to the west, but hey, these Stinger missiles, am I right? All right, we're having a good time, right? Did any of those jokes make any sense? Are we doing okay over here? That's okay. Just, not sending my best. Have fun, Colleen. See you soon. My understanding of Russia-Libya relations. I know Libya was financially involved with Russia for many years, even being one of its biggest customers. However, Russia did not veto the 73 resolution used largely for the justification of bombings. Huh. You laughed quietly? I'll take it. I'll take it. Got the bones of the joke in there, right? It's in there. It's got joke bones. All right. All right. Okay. Okay, hold on. How are my questions here? Where are we? Questions? Arab Spring. How is the Arab Spring related at all? It appears as though the answer to this question was, I can't tell exactly what happened in Libya, but you know, it could have been one of those things that was like an organically began, you know, because the Arab Spring was spreading around, right? Okay, first of all, how did it start? How exactly did it start in Libya? I don't know. Either way, it was definitely used eventually as like what, pretext to take over this like military like airfield, right? Is that what happened? So obviously they were armed. Right? Obviously they were armed, and that's not like a peaceful protest. That's something else. And that happened in 3 days flat. So I don't know. It's really hard to look at that and say that's not like a Western sponsored attack. A Western sponsored color revolution. I got more to learn about it, but that seems to be the case. Let me know if you can help me understand or add to my understanding or whatever. Arab Spring relation could be the widespread mobilization of groups, trafficking of weapons and armaments, as well as just carrying away the populace who were not exactly keen on government, as they were under the guise that Arab Spring was organic. There were these armed groups. Were these rebels already? Who are these guys? Is that what's happening there? Trafficking of weapon and armaments, as well as just carrying away the populace not exactly keen on government? What? What are you saying there, Karim? Carrying away the populace who were not exactly keen on government as they were under the guise that Arab Spring was organic? Right, I'm not exactly understanding there. And rephrasing that for me. It seems like it started suddenly out of nowhere. Even from the CSIS archives, that thing we were looking at a minute ago. I'm sorry I can't do everything. Thank you for helping me try to keep up here. Like the Haitian Revolution's impact on the slavery and control of those enslavers. Seeing a revolution out your window can change your ambitions quickly. Oh, I also missed this comment you sent earlier. It was a double whammy. Hold on. You were saying Russia was put into a difficult situation financially because Russia didn't veto the 73 resolution. Hold on. Jesus, all the way back. Russia, Libya. Let's try to track you here. Hold on. Russia, Libya. All right. So, what's the deal? Libya, financially involved with Russia for many years. Biggest customer. Okay. Russia does not veto the 73 resolution. Backstabs. Largely used for the justification of bombings in 73? Do I know enough about that? This thing? Yom Kippur War 73 thing? What's going on? 73. Not sure what happened then. I'm not remembering. Yeah, that's the Muslim Brotherhood claims. All right, some of this is beyond me. We got to slow down for me here. Let me try to wrap my head around this. Where were we? Russia. Right here. Shoot. They didn't veto. Russia put into a difficult position. As well, since sanctions cut Russia's largest customer's wallet. And on top of this, Russia was printing Libya's money? Okay. Double whammy. Russia changed their relations strategies following the fall of Gaddafi, but obviously too late. Too little, too late. It largely did this as they were looming. There was looming anticipation Libya would succumb to Western influence. Okay. Gaddafi. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Thanks, Putin. Wait, who was that? Arab Spring relation could be the widespread. Okay. Yeah. Like the Haitian. What I was saying about the Arab Spring was the Arab Spring. Thank you. Arab Spring carries water to regular people in neighboring countries as the thought and action of revolution will cause them to push for change in their own governments. Oh, it serves a lot of purposes for the West. It serves a lot of purposes. Okay. As well as do the mass migration mobilization of people around the world and across borders. Would play for a fairly easy time to traffic weapons or jihadists across borders. Oh my gosh. Is Libya deep dive? You are kidding me. I can't believe it. No, it doesn't. You're a jerk. But I'm not opposed to it, you know? I'm into that kind of thing. What? This is a weird channel we got here. Yeah. No, that's great. Okay. Good. All right. Russia, Libya. Little sidebar there. Nice. Learning. Great. Check. Blowback. Blowback. Oh, the blowback. There's always blowback. Always a blowback. How do they get armed? Obama. How else do they get armed? Qatar. Arab Spring. Okay, I see it now. I see it all now. I see it now. It's making sense. Are you turning into Yemen understanders, chat? Are you turning into Yemen understanders? All right. Arab Spring. Oh my God, Arab Spring. That's how that goes down in 3 days, right? That's how they bring the guns in. That's how that goes down in 3 days. Dang, man. That's how they like spread the word around to other countries. Yeah, here's how you do it too. You should have some of that regime change. We'll give you the guns. And then the like the countries devolve into violence. And then the West is like, see, oh look, see, it's so violent. You need our help. The West is like, oh my God, they're doing a genocide to these people that we gave guns to. They're genociding. It's the same move every time. The same move every time, right? All right. So, do you believe it was a color revolution in Libya? I believe so. I really do believe so. That's got to be the case. Come on, I went down in 3 days and they're taking a military airfield. Is that right again? A military airfield? Throughout the 70s, it became increasingly clear to Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi that developments in his region were not trending in his favor. For one, Libya's relations with neighboring Egypt deteriorated seriously. Rumors spread that Libya was secretly funding the Muslim Brotherhood's military wing to stage attacks in Egypt. Egyptian President Anwar Sadat would bitterly attack the madman of Libya in speeches. Gaddafi, in return, dubbed Sadat servant of the Americans. Hold up. Wow. All right, so 70s Gaddafi. When 70s is when he realizes they're going to start turning against him. When did he write the Green Book? Slow down. '76. 70s. Oh my God, 70s Gaddafi's so hot right now. '76. Hakeem Gavid was a good. It was a very good. '70s Gaddafi. Sounds like many others, but literally exactly Iran right now. Yeah. It's not something I could be like, hey, I know 100% for sure that this is a color revolution. I'm not discounting all elements of the revolution. There's a lot of people out there. But remember, this is how they do that. This is how the West co-opts movements. They start with something. There's always a tiny nugget of truth. But then, like they did with Gaddafi, and the cockroaches, like literally a quote. They say, oh, there's a quote where Gaddafi was really mean. And so I'm pretty sure he was going to do a genocide. And here we come to save the day. Thank you very much. I'll be here all week. It's just like, come on. Come on. He called them cockroaches. And then people like Sam Cedar are going to be like, well, out of internationalism, I wanted to let NATO do whatever they wanted. Out of internationalism, it was pretty clear that the moral and right thing to do was to let the UN bomb the shit out of Libya. It just was moral and correct. What did he say? Sam Cedar said, well, personally speaking, it was a legitimate exercise. There was a potential genocide. He said there was a potential genocide there. I'm still wrapping my head around his argument.
You've got mail.
Well, thank you for the 100 biddies, Matthew. Matthew from up the street.
Libya genocided Sam Cedar's brain, dude. He said it was a legitimate exercise. What's up, Show Sheepy? Love your face. How you doing? Hey, how you doing? Can you believe that? Are you a believer of that? Justin Belieber? We also know his stance on Yugoslavia. I think we can assume. He said Libya was a quote-unquote legitimate exercise, and he also said it went sideways. Homie, when was it going good? When was it ever going good? If it went sideways, that means at one point it was up, right side up. What the fuck is that guy talking about? He's just poisoning his audience's brain with NATO apologia. Oh my God, that is the opposite of what we need right now. That is the opposite of what the left needs right now. Careful, or they'll raid again. I hope so. I hope so. Rayback, love your face. Seems like Empire achieved their goals. So sideways from that standpoint. Seems really weird. It seems more to me that it went exactly to plan. They're just going to act like, oh my gosh, I can't believe after bombing the shit out of your country and arming rebels, I can't believe it descended into civil war even more. Whoops, that was just that was the biggest mistake of my presidency. That was even worse than before. It was supposed to be Obama. We do it because it's right. Dan. Well, the invasion of Libya. here's the thing. All right, hold on. I think I'm dialing it in here. Here's the thing, Dan. The invasion of Libya. It was a legitimate exercise. All right, hold on. It's turning southern. I don't know what the deal is. We do it because it's right. Dan. What you don't know is Gaddafi, evil guy. What you don't know about him is he was going to kill the guys. We gave him the guns, and he was going to kill them. We can't have it. We do it because it's right. I'm trying to. I wish I could get half as good a Michael Brooks impression. That is something I should practice. Let's practice my Obama. Give me some videos to practice from. Give me this video again here. Let's practice. Let's dial this in. Abortion no longer priority. When we came into office, what you don't know is very complicated. There's much nuance. Let's go! Yes. All right. Yeah. Been robbed. You love to see it. Thank you so much for the raid, Rob. Thank you so much, Rob. Talking to Dan. And what you don't know is Rob Rousseau is a streamer. He does it. He does it because it's right. Rob Rousseau. Rob Rousseau in the house. Being president is not easy. What you don't know is a lot of different things you got to juggle each day in the White House. Different muffins. You start the day. Which muffin are you gonna have? I think most days, it's blueberry muffin, and put on a tan suit. They got mad at me. I went to Chicago, met my wife, made some kids, wrote a book. Yep. Organized the community. Heard about a corn pop guy. Who's this corn? Like, keeps talking about corn pop. Can't have that. Blew up that hospital over there. And a couple of weddings. I like weddings, but not on my watch. No. All right, I think I'm dialing this in over here. I think I could do this. I think I could do an Obama impression forever. It's okay. It's like really my first day trying it. I honestly feel like I got the training wheels on right now. Rob Rousseau, love your face. Thank you so much for the raid. Everyone follow Rob Rousseau. Rob Rousseau, did you know that it was me, President Obama, Barry. It's Barry. It's Barry. It's like back there, isn't it? Barry Obama. And we had to give the jihadis all those guns. He doesn't say them. He doesn't say that. There's so much to dial in here. I'm gonna work on this, folks. I promise you, this will get better. He wanted to give those guys all the fucking guns. We do it because it's right. I'm gonna dial this in, and it's gonna be good and great. You're all gonna be even more impressed than you are right now.
2 U.S. warships.
So thank you again for the raid, Rob Rousseau. Love your face. Everyone follow Rob Rousseau. Here's a shout out one more time. Raiders, thank you for staying with me. I, Dan Simpson. I'm in the middle of day 2 of a deep dive, learning about and talking about Libya. Too much vocal fry. Thank you. Okay, yeah, I think I'm leaning into it too much. Okay. Thank you, proletariat. Maybe one day. I'll do it all day. President Obama. On the I, Dan Simpson show. I, Dan Simpson. Yeah. I love NATO. NATO's my best friend. And we do it not because of imperialism. Not because of the regime change. We do it because we simply can't stop. There's no way for me to put a stop to the deep state. Michelle, where you at? Why do we do it? Honestly, I don't know. If I ask them to stop, I'm scared they'll do what they did to JFK. And I like my head. I like having a head. Michelle, don't you like my head? I like having it in one piece. Okay, I'm gonna work on it. Let's just leave it there.
Already in the Suez
He's going to give me some content here to practice.
Canal. America has the military capability to respond quickly in
Gaddafi.
Libya should it need to.
Authoritarian.
Talks continue regarding the right international response to the situation as fighting rages on between.
I love these going through the Suez Canal. Right where Comrade Boat went through. It just looks like it's going through sand at this angle. Is so strange, right? Just going through the sand.
Rebels and pro-Gaddafi forces, as well as the US, Britain and France also have troops and equipment in the region. Much of this is at NATO bases, though NATO itself won't be using military
clogged up global economy
force against Libya. America is still considering a no-fly zone, but President Obama spoke frankly about the Libyan leader's position for the first time.
The violence must stop.
Violence must stop.
Muammar Gaddafi
has
lost legitimacy to lead, and he must
leave.
What I want to make sure
I'm gonna have a great time with this.
Sure of is that the United States has full capacity to act potentially rapidly if the situation deteriorated in such a way that you had a humanitarian crisis.
Humanitarian crisis. I'm gonna work on this. It's gonna get better. We tortured some folks. It's okay. Sometimes you torture people. And it's for a good reason.
Both the British and French foreign ministers echoed President Obama's need for readiness and planning when they met in Paris.
That's the first thing they taught me. On my way into presidency. Why is it turning southern? I can't get that out of there.
However, neither endorsed military intervention.
I want this to be better.
We are also agreed that the international community, including the United States and our other...
All right. No, I'm bored with this guy. Give me more Obama content.
And we turn now.
This guy.
And why this matters to us.
Why?
It has been 10 days since Mr. Obama ordered U.S. forces into
He's got like a real resonant voice. He's got a great voice. It is a great voice. Let's give him that.
In Libya. Nearly 200 Tomahawk cruise missiles launched. More than 16.
He's got like a rhythm to it. I got to nail.
100 airstrikes. And so the challenge for the president, justify this war and show Americans that the U.S. role really will
justify
be
this war
and limited.
The United States and the world face a choice.
United States and the world, he says.
Gaddafi declared he would show no mercy to his own people.
They're in a civil war. They're fighting against him. The people fighting against him that you armed are showing him no mercy.
He compared them to rats and threatened to go door to door.
Door to door. Rats. How about imperial dogs?
Or to inflict punishment.
It was Muammar Gaddafi, Obama.
All right. So I'm gonna do a really great. I need to practice my Obama impression. It's gonna get better. I promise you. I'm going to spend a little bit of time every day working on my Obama. Until you can't tell it's not me. Until you think it's Obama. Until you really... Until like, you know, I don't know. It no longer feels like he's dead. I can't believe the guy with a handmade shotgun got him. And crazy. All right, so here's what's up. In the middle here of this deep dive, day 2 of my Libya deep dive, I was trying to answer these questions for myself and my community, and I think we were getting to the pretty much the end of day 2. It doesn't mean that we're done talking about Libya. There will always be more to learn. Maybe we'll spend another day diving in. Maybe we'll do that soon. Maybe we'll do it down the road. But it feels like the questions I had from the beginning of the day are answered. I do believe now that, and I would like to find more. I'd like to find more examples of people going on the record trying to justify this war. We're not getting a lot of examples of them doing it explicitly. The closest we get is that example, like Obama said, well, Gaddafi called them rats. Can't have it. Not on my watch. I'm president. It's just like, what, homie? Well, he called him. He said you're gonna fight him. Take no mercy. No way. It just sort of leaves out an entire material analysis of what's going on. And of course, it relies on his audience not knowing what he's saying. And I didn't at the time. So here we are, figuring it out now. Everyone, again, make sure you follow Rob Rousseau. I really do think you're going to love the content. I'm a big fan of Rob. Okay, so along the way, I was trying to figure out, I think we could figure out what the West's, unstated goals are, what their implied motivations were. I still want to find more examples of people going on the record, including people like Sam Cedar, talking about Libya, because this is why we went down the rabbit hole to begin with. To be honest, at one point Sam Cedar literally said it was a legitimate exercise because of the potential genocide, and so I'm like, what is he talking about? I'll have to look into this more. I understand there was a civil war, but what was he referring to? Is he referring to that quote? That mischaracterization of what Gaddafi said? Because I think that's what he's saying in the video, right? That's what Sam's saying in the video. That he was convinced that it was a legitimate exercise because of the potential invasion. He's just parroting what Obama said. Well, he called them called them cockroaches. That's what they're going to hinge the entire thing on. And literally still today, Sam Cedar's pushing that on his show. What are you doing? What are they doing over there? It's wild stuff. He goes, how things can start out in what I perceive to be the best moral of intentions and the best process to make that assessment. What does that mean? And see that turn into a shit show. What the fuck is he talking about? Seeing the true colors of what's going on over there. I think there need to be more channels like Rob Rousseau's. What's the history of the the U.S. having good moral intentions. What's the history of them having any moral of intentions, much less the best? What is this argument? What is the history of the United States having the best process to make that assessment? What does that mean? What does that mean? Word salad. And to see that turn into a shit show, implying that it was good at some point. Implying that it wasn't intended to destroy Libya. God, I think it's just baby brain stuff. But being someone who doesn't know anything about it, it took me 2 days to like fully see the depth of how how incredibly dumb that is. Pretty dumb shit. Yeah. And that's the thing. Anyone who's involved with any of this stuff for any amount of time cannot be naive about it anymore. They know they should be able to read the room. Hey, guys. And acting like they can't is the real shady shit. He knows the shady shit and acts like he doesn't. And we know that he's doing that. That makes it even weirder. Same with anyone else who does that move, including Sam Cedar. How do you not know? You can't not know. I don't believe it. I cannot give you that benefit of the doubt. You're too smart to not be able to read the room like this. So they're in on it. It's so weird. I think that's really exposing, yeah. I'm happy to force the contradiction here. Like the last child of people born into chattel slavery died this week. Someone wants to talk about moral intentions. Let's take a look at where we're at with First Nations people in the U.S. When has... The United States is founded on the original sin. It's founded on actual genocide. It's founded on continued genocides. What the fuck? They've got to be joking me. And then they're going to be like, oh, well, we care about the genocide happening over here. And we're like, wait, what? Genocide? What? Yeah, sure, it's right over here. Hold on, let the dust settle. We gave these guys a bunch of guns. Let the dust settle. We'll show you where there was a genocide. Give it a second. Our drones are right above. Come on. People saying America had the best intentions here is code for... I agreed with the war at the start because they scared me with propaganda. Baby brains. Yeah, they're admitting they're baby brains. And if I now admit I was wrong and stupid to ever believe them, after the 100th time they've pulled this shit, yeah, I can't do that. So I have to pretend that, that their heart, and therefore my heart was in the right place, even though it's becoming abundantly clear that we're the baddies every time. Is that it? I think that's definitely part of it. So here's the thing. We just have to make sure that that's not the only allowable narrative. All right? And I'm definitely looking out for myself here. I want to be able to continue making content that pushes back on that and forces that contradiction to the surface. I'm happy to be that person. I just need your support. I'll just be honest. Like, this is a battle that needs to be fought. This needs to be done. I just, keep subbing. I appreciate it. Thanks for your subs. Really does mean a lot. $5 here or there. That's how we do it. Since it's about 8 minutes to the top of the hour, I'm going to chill. I'm going to do the whole thing. I do a daily leftist stream. Actually leftist. This is an actually existing socialist stream. All right? I'm not one of those fucking fakers. I actually do the anti-imperialism. Please hit the follow button. Absolutely free to follow. It's absolutely free to hang out and chat. When the new month starts, I'm going to turn up my ad schedule. It's going to go back up again. All right? So get your subscriptions in before then. $5 a month. No, you don't have to watch the ads. You can gift a subscription to someone that you think is contributing a lot to the chat. That is a great way to support the channel. You can support with a dono. You can support with some merch. And I also sell stuff on Etsy. Your support really means a lot to me. It means that I can keep going. It means that I can continue making this content each day, and create this space for based and cool leftists like you. Right? Let's fucking go. Let's fucking grow as well. I'm gonna be growing weed. Keep your eye on my weed journey in the Discord over here. Weed feed. I'm getting some stuff. This is not me growing, but this is someone else from the community showing us what they're growing over there. I'm hoping in about 3-4 months I got some weed to smoke. Really excited. Okay. Well, I honestly think this is going to conclude then my portion of the stream where I was talking about Libya. I think that's it. I think that was day 2. If you've got something else that you think will add to the discussion, you can drop those links in the Discord in the deep dive channel. If you want to catch up to where we are, number one, the video that I did yesterday, the deep dive day number 1, that's on my YouTube. You can check that out. That's a big 5-hour long unedited clip. And then I'll also add this clip to my YouTube as well. Day 2. If we do a deep dive again another day, I'll add that. Okay, sounds good. Great. Comments, concerns? Before we wrap up this section here. You found a YouTube, Young Turks video from 10 years about the Libyan war? Really? I bet it's really bad. Is it worth watching right now, or do we good to put that in our back pocket? Let me know if y'all have any concerns or any other questions, especially about Libya. We did a Libya deep dive. A Libya deep dive today. But how about this? TLDR, if you missed the whole thing. TLDR, Libya. Libya was in the middle of a civil war and was poised to be the economic and civil, political capital of Africa in some ways, standing in opposition to and undermining U.S. and Western hegemony, representing a pathway forward for Pan-African and anti-colonial solidarity before it was brutally couped by the West and its local reactionary allies, destroying Libya in the process and publicly murdering Gaddafi in the street, further descending Libya into civil war and instability and violence. That's the pretty much the TLDR. Do we feel as though, chat, that still stands up after 2 days of deep diving? Does that still check out? I think so. I'm always willing to update it, but I think that still checks out. So thanks, United States. Thanks, Obama. Thanks for everything, dickheads. That's Libya. That's day 2. What I'm going to do now is end this recording. Live viewers, don't go anywhere, okay? Don't go anywhere. My stream's not over. But if you're a YouTube viewer, that means this clip's over. You should go watch something else. Like one of these other videos popping up on the screen. I'm sure that's how it works, right? All right. Thanks for watching. Love your face. Goodbye.
Mediocre. Mediocre. Get the fuck out of here.
Not about good. Not about. I think 2.5 and that was going on eggs to make sure she never come back.
Of the